What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kinda Funny Xcast, your home for all things Xbox here at Kinda Funny. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, SnowBikeMike, and today I'm joined by my two bodacious and downright awesome co-hosts, the Rogue One, Mr. Gary Whitta, and my guy, Parris Lilly. Gary Whitta, I'm looking at you in the eyes right now. How have you been? Give me an awesome story from Los Santos.
Oh geez. Oh my God. I don't even know where to start with that. I was asked to participate in a kidnapping this morning, my first kidnapping. That was interesting. I got into a fight with a hobo over which one of us had the shittiest motorcycle. It turned into a bit of a road rash situation. He knocked me off my bike, stole my gun, and my shoes, and then later I found out murdered someone with my gun. It's a good thing I reported it stolen because that gun was registered to me. It could have come back. That could have blown up in my face. If you're out there, Billy Sprinkle, the hobo on a bike, Gary Mitchell is coming for you. There's a new grudge, a new rivalry in town. I don't even know where to start with you on this game. It's like the Matrix. No one can tell you what it is. You have to see it for yourself. The world of Los Santos and the No Pixel server continues to be a delightful cavalcade of senseless violence and just insane comedy. I'm still loving every minute of it.
You know, Gary, when I asked you that question, I didn't think you were going to take me on a journey like that to start.
You asked for an awesome story. I did my best.
I didn't think we were going to go there, but you know what? I liked that right turn and I loved it. How are you still feeling? Are you still putting in a bunch of hours? You having a good time, Gary, with it?
Yeah, still really enjoying it. I actually just did a little talk about it on my Twitch stream. Just talking to camera, talking to the people in my chat about how the one element of it that I find a little bit disconcerting, and it's not a criticism of the game at all, it's really just me, is that it's a whole new world of relationships for me to have social anxiety about. Like, it's a whole other new reality where I'm in this character and I'm trying to make friends, and you always kind of feel like you're a kid back in high school. Remember, like, the high school anxiety of, like, you want to sit at the cool kids table, you want to be accepted, you don't want to be, you want people to kind of like you just want to be liked, right? That's all we want, is to be liked. And in my own life, I spent 48 years getting to a point where I don't have to worry too much about that stuff because I'm fairly secure in I got a lovely wife and a kid and a good job, and like I feel pretty secure. I go into this other new world where I'm just like a new fish in a big pond, and it's like all that social anxiety comes right. Oh, does this person like me? What if they don't like me? And it's like that. Honestly, I don't like the sum total of my social anxiety in my life has increased over the course of the last month, which is the last thing I need. Let me tell you. But the game is still so much fun that it almost makes it worth it. So it's weird. I've been talking about a few friends of mine, other streamers, like, yeah, they have the same feeling. Apparently it's a universal thing, that kind of weird sense of social anxiety that comes with that metaverse aspect of gaming, where it becomes less about playing a game and more about the social interactions. There's a concept called emotional bleed that I've been learning about. It's a Dungeons and Dragons role-playing concept, but it's equally true here, where relationships and things that happen to your character in game can bleed over into real life and have kind of an emotional effect on you that lingers even after you've stopped playing the game. So it's really, really fascinating psychologically. It's fascinating from a video game standpoint. Just very, very interesting. All of it.
Man, that's some deep stuff. Emotional bleed. I'll remember that, Gary. You're always teaching me something new, showing me something new. And who would have thought you running around the streets of Los Santos would have brought so much insight? That's pretty awesome. Now we go over to our other co-host, my guy, Mr. Parris Lilly. It's another week. I miss you, my dude. I want to know everything you've been up to. How's your week been? What you been playing? How's the family? What's the Twitter Spaces like? Fill me in, my guy.
It's been good. You mentioned Twitter Spaces. I'll jump into that super quick. So myself, Khalif, Aaron Simon, Danny Pena, Andrew Alliance, and Mark Washington, Twitter Gaming and Spaces, they both reached out to all of us and had us in a session during the week to kind of talk about how we've been using Twitter Spaces, how we can leverage it to kind of extend the conversations with gaming. I like to do my own spaces all the time. So it was really great to kind of get that insight from the entire panel and how we've all been using Spaces and even, Clubhouse to that effect as a way to be more interactive with the community. That's how I like to use it more specifically, where I'll just fire up a Spaces, kind of open forum, bring people up as speakers. They'll ask questions, have a comment, whatever. And, we'll have a dialogue back and forth. And I usually walk away from it with a different perspective on things, because it's always great, take my giant ego out of it and listen to what other people have to say, and makes you go, huh, well, I never thought of it that way. So that's always good. But the big thing for me this week, well, first of all, you probably see if you're watching this, I'm wearing the B&O Portal headset. I've worn them all week, just like I told you, for everything, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I've come to a very hard decision on two things. The first one is Fallout 76. As I was telling you before, I started playing it on the Xbox. I really wish they had some crossplay so I could play with people on PC and stuff like that. Well, I found this awesome PC community of Fallout 76 players. And screw you, Danny Pena. I'm abandoning you on the console, and I'm gonna go play on the PC. So I'm just gonna start over on the PC and play Fallout 76 there. Plus, new seasons getting ready to come out. Looks like they have a lot of great content. So I really want to really just engross myself into that community, into that world of Fallout 76. It's been great so far. The other thing is, I've been playing so much Outriders recently that I'm ready to go back to Destiny 2. I'm just ready to go back. I've been sitting out the second half of this season. It's been long enough. I'm ready to jump back in. Anyone out there watching Fishes 696 PC, Xbox, I'm ready. I'm coming back home. We got to play Destiny 2. I got to do some raids. I got to do some dungeons and do some of the GM Nightfalls as well. I'm ready to come back. That is literally the game that what's the phrase? I can't quit it. I can't. I'll always play Destiny. I just always will. I just love that game. I love that community so much. So I'm probably gonna be talking about that a lot in the next few weeks because I'm ready to go back.
I love that. The king is returning back to Destiny 2. Now, I guess I have a couple of good follow-up questions to that. It's like, what is it about Outriders that gets you itching to go back to Destiny 2? And then
loot grind, man.
The loot grind, is that it?
Like Biggie said, give me the loot, give me the loot. I gotta have it, man. So when I think about just chasing certain things in Destiny, like that rocket launcher in Destiny, I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head. I don't have it. Now I want it. I gotta go have it. So now I gotta go grind so I can go get it. I haven't done the new raid. I haven't done it yet, just for people out there they're listening, because I've been playing so many other things. I need to go do that new raid. I want to go back and do the dungeons as well. So there's just so many Destiny things that I want to do. And then we know, I think it's next season or it's coming soon. They're bringing back Vault of Glass. They're bringing back the OG. I got to come back for that, right? So I might as well go get my reps in now and get everything back up to speed in Destiny. So yeah, I got to go back and play it. I don't know how I'm going to find time to do all this stuff, but I'm going to figure it out because I want to play it. And I still want to play Outriders too. So I got to figure it out, but I'm excited to do it. And that's what gaming's supposed to be all about, right? Having fun.
You're about to find the ultimate gaming balance here in a moment, is right. The grind is soon to be real for our good friend Parris. I love that. Well, I have a fun question to kick off our show today, because later on, we're going to talk about MLB The Show 2021 and give our impressions and thoughts early on, which I'm really excited about. But before we jump into that, got to have a little baseball hangout here in the dugout. So guys, simple question. Big League Chew bubblegum or sunflower seeds? Gary Whitta, hit me with it. Which one are you grabbing in the dugouts?
I've never been a fan of either of those. I'm just going to give myself a third option. I'm going to go with the great garlic fries that you get at the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
Okay.
All about those Gordon Biersch garlic fries. Those are no joke.
You're out in the stands enjoying some garlic fries.
I could never blow bubbles. Never been. My kid is learning how to blow bubbles right now. I just got her some Hubba Bubba. She's loving that. But I could never blow bubbles. And I've never been a gum guy. To me, it loses its flavor almost immediately, and you're just chewing like this flavorless rubber. I've never liked gum. And the sunflower seeds thing, I like nuts and things like that, but the seeds that get stuck in your teeth, it's not for me. I'll go with the garlic fries.
Okay.
Door number 3.
That. Parris, where are you falling out here? What are you grabbing for in that bag of yours?
Oh, I'm going with the Big League gum, but I have to say what Gary brought up, the garlic fries. I've never been to the San Francisco Giants stadium, but I have been to Candlestick to see some football games back in the day, and they had those garlic fries there. So the instant you said that, I was like, oh man, they're so good. But yeah, I'm bubblegum. The sunflower seed thing, I can't do. It's like I like them, but I always get the shell stuck in my teeth and stuff, so I don't do them that much.
I got to bring in our producer as well because he's a big baseball guy. So Barrett, Courtney, where are we falling down on this conversation?
Yo, Mike, back when I was playing baseball, the thing that was always going around the entire team when we're sitting on the bench waiting to get out there on the field was always the sunflower seeds when I was growing up. And they would get creative with like some of the flavoring they would get with sunflower seeds. I remember a buddy of mine had flavor, like kind of like spicy ones that were really good to chew on. But yeah, I'm a big sunflower seeds guy. That's what we had in the dugout for my childhood playing baseball. I didn't love I tried the gum a couple times. I didn't love it. I don't know what the appeal of it is, especially because it's like all stringy and stuff, like the brand that you're talking about. I always felt like the flavoring would like leave real quick. Like it was good for like a couple of chews, and you're like, all right, I need to spit this out. So yeah, that's my answer.
Can I just? And I don't want to insert myself into a conversation I clearly know nothing about because I'm not an American. I don't really watch baseball, but I know some basics. Why are we not talking about Cracker Jacks?
I mean, Cracker Jacks are acceptable. You know, we were trying to get
we're talking about like
player, right?
Yeah, you're
usually
a player.
When you're playing, you're out there. You're not grabbing a box of Cracker Jacks out in the outfield.
I'm thinking more in terms of like being in the stands, being on the bleachers and watching the game.
So, I mean, then you got to get that little baseball helmet with the ice cream inside, Gary. You know what I mean? A little soft serve with. Then you get a little souvenir to go home with if you're in the stands. I love that.
I mean, I don't drink anymore, but I always like the one back in the day, like you put the two beers on either side of the foam dome or whatever they call it, with the straws. That was always good fun.
I love that. For me, I'm reaching for the Big League Chew, right? I'm going Big League Chew grape. I just love the stringiness of it. I like the little chalky flavor that it has as well. I'm just out in the outfield and I'm just gnawing on it like a cow gnawing on grass, maybe spit it out, you know. When it comes to seeds, I love ranch, I love barbecue, but I've never mastered it, like you said, Parris, right? Of like actually cracking the seed, getting the sunflower seed in, and then spitting the outer shell out. I'm over there, I'm spitting just full seeds out. I'm just sucking on them, spitting them out. I'm like, I don't even care anymore. I'm not coordinated enough for any of this, but you always got to have a good little set in your bag, right? Softball season will soon be upon us as we move out of COVID-19. And I always got some sunflowers, some gum in there just in case, my big Gatorade bottle. And I'm ready to swing for the fences. So I'm excited for that to come back.
So, and I don't know how 100% true this is, but this was what we used to say. Again, I'm dating myself. But in the 80s, when I was younger, I remember the commercials for Big League Chew when it first premiered. And when I played Little League Ball, the rumor, the urban legend was they created Big League Chew so we could emulate the MLB players because we couldn't do dip. You know, everyone did chewing tobacco and all that stuff.
Right.
So that's why it was invented back in the day. But I don't know how 100% true it is, but that's what I've always believed.
Even growing up at like playing ball like the late 90s, early 2000s, like that's what we all thought too, was that like it was supposed to emulate that like a whole like kind of chewing tobacco type of thing.
Honestly, because I knew a little bit about that. I actually had really hoped the conversation wasn't going to go in the direction of chewing tobacco because that is the most disgusting shit I have ever seen in my life. That stuff is so fucking vile. There is nothing worse. I knew a couple of people that used to dip, and it's just the most disgusting, filthy habit.
I did it once when I was in high school. I did it, and I swallowed it. Never again.
Oh, God.
Never again.
Parris learned a valuable lesson there.
I was sick as a
it's
dog.
making me feel sick just thinking about it. Just move on.
Well, let's move on and have some fun. Of course, let me know in the comments as we get ready for April 20th and MLB The Show 21 coming out. Let me know, a little Big League Chew or sunflower seeds. What do you got in your bag and what are you reaching for? But let's kick off the show with a fun viewer question from our good friend BJ Bernardo. BJ Bernardo has a simple one coming off of last week's conversation. Hey, y'all, is there any worry from you that Xbox may not have a lot of games to show at E3? Thanks.
Yes.
BJ. Okay, well, Parris, lay it on me, big dog.
Well, again, it's the reality of the world. It's COVID. You see so many things getting delayed. It wouldn't shock me if they don't have and when we say things to show, I'm not talking CGI trailers. I'm talking real gameplay. To me, the only certainty that I'll put it a 90% certainty we're going to see real gameplay of at this E3 is going to be Halo Infinite. Again, I lost the bet, but everything else, nothing else is off the table, in my opinion. I'm sure Bethesda is probably going to have something that has gameplay in it, but Are we getting a Forza Horizon this year? I don't know. Is Starfield going to be shown in a playable state? I don't know. And a lot of it we have to blame on COVID, right? So I do think that's a valid concern, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we know games are coming. We just don't know if they're coming this year. And I think everyone can excuse it just with the current state of the world. So my only real expectation is an extended look at Halo Infinite. Everything else is off the table.
Okay, would you even lump in Psychonauts 2 or Age of Empires 4 that we just saw? I'm thinking like smaller ones here. Would you lump that in there as well? It's like, we're going to see those for sure, right?
Yeah, we'll see those, and then we'll probably even see Flight Simulator running on the Series X, again, as an example. Stuff like that. But to me, those are the known knowns, because we know Psychonauts 2 is so close to being complete. And obviously, we just had the Age of Empires 4 event, so I could obviously see that as well. But I'm just thinking things like Avowed or Fable or Perfect Dark, I would not hold my breath. Everwild, I wouldn't hold my breath to see any of that stuff this year, at least in a playable form.
Okay, I'll take a deep breath and hold it, is right, because I need to see some games, Parris, is right.
Yeah. No, and I do too, but I'll say this, and I'm sorry, Gary, because I know you want to chime in on this. I also think this is part of the reason why they're being so aggressive with third-party partnership deals with Game Pass. So I think that might fill in some of the gaps. And then obviously we'll have some indie and AA stuff, because we know there's 30 of those games that they showed off earlier this year, at least announced. So I think they can kind of fill in the gaps with some of that stuff too.
Gary, what are some of your thoughts on this? Are you worried about Xbox not having the games? Are you worried about the perception of coming out of this? And we always have these conversations of, oh man, they really missed the mark there. That was lackluster. This place did better than this team. Are any of those concerns come to your mind with that?
No, I'm gonna halfway disagree with Parris on this one. I think that there will be a decent showing. I mean, the specific parts I'm about halfway disagreeing. I, for example, think you will see more of Fable and Everwild and things like that. I just don't. I don't think you'll see gameplay. I don't think it'll be playable. I don't think there'll be. I mean, it's a virtual event, right? So there's not. It's not like we're worried about. Well, we'll be able to play it on the show floor. There is no show floor. I think you will see gameplay. I don't think whether it'll be like playable, but I think you will see some footage of the games in action. I feel like, when they first showed Fable, and like the whole thing about Fable and Everwild, to just those two particular ones that you mentioned, Parris, was like, okay, that's great, but like show us something meaningful, right? That's a cinematic, and we still don't know what the hell Everwild is. Fable, is a very beautiful cinematic, but show us something real. I feel like that's the next logical step, right? They either don't show that stuff, they're not going to run the same cinematic again or just another cinematic. They have to progress and show us something new, right? They have to show us some gameplay or just show us a bit more of what we can expect. E3 is the big stage. It's still a big expectation, Christmas for gamers and all that kind of stuff. None of these things exist in a vacuum. All the other big companies are showing their stuff as well. Not obviously Sony's not there, but there are. This stuff doesn't get judged in a vacuum, right? It gets judged in like at the end of the week. It's always who are the winners and losers of E3, right? You want to be on the winners list, not the losers list. So you have to put on if you're going to go there, you better be ready to come correct and put on a strong showing. I think this past 6 months since the launch of the Series X, we've seen some really encouraging signs. Whether it be Bethesda, whether it be even just the rumors that we're hearing about, even just the silly stuff, Kojima, whether Discord happens, I don't know. But like we've said, one of the really prevailing trends on this podcast for the past few weeks has been Xbox is really, really aggressive under Phil Spencer in this generation. They're making a lot of moves. They're acquiring a bunch of stuff. They're bringing up, they're addressing seemingly the core criticism of the Xbox One generation, which is where are the games? Right from the very, very beginning, right when they said it's all about TV and Halo TV show and you can plug in your cable box, and everyone was like, "Yeah, where are the games?" Right, and that has stuck around for a while. And I think the current Xbox management understands that needs to be addressed, and that's the Bethesda acquisition was a big step towards addressing that, and we're seeing more and more. I do think that it's always hard to kind of guess this, but that's the whole point of it. I do think there'll be some surprises. There'll be at least one. Here's my guess: there'll be at least one thing at the Xbox press conference that we're like, "Where the shit did that come from?" Like nobody even knew that was coming. Like, what the hell is that? And there's some stuff under wraps that they have not even hinted at. Every company does this. Like there's a long tradition of this. So my get, because I'm upbeat on Xbox. I think they're doing great stuff right now. I don't think it will be disappointing. If anything, this is exactly what they want going into this, which is the expectations game is low. People are saying, "Oh, it's not going to be that great." Great, set the bar low. It makes it that easier for them to come in and go, oh, that was better than we thought it was going to be. It's when the expectations are high, like it always is with the Nintendo Directs. Everyone thinks every Nintendo Direct's going to be the next Mario or Zelda, and when it's not, everyone's like, oh, we didn't get what we wanted. But I think by managing expectations, not hyping it up too much, and then hopefully just letting the games speak for themselves. Hopefully, again, more on Fable, more on some of the, obviously more on Halo Infinite, maybe some, Starfield or some Bethesda stuff. Just a bit more gameplay, maybe a couple of big surprises. I think they'll be fine.
I guess let me be clear on that. I think they'll be fine too. I'm just thinking more of it's actually showing games being played versus like they can clearly announce some stuff that we've not heard of before, and that's going to wow the crowd as well. It really seems to me it all comes back to Halo for them, no matter what they do at this event, right? And I know we're kind of early speculating on that, but I think the expectations out of that's going to be, let's see the campaign stuff again. Let's see the improvements from a year ago. Now let's have a big multiplayer unveil. I think that's the second part of Halo Infinite that we've not seen anything about yet that they can really wow people with. What does the next generation of Halo multiplayer look like, right? And you show that off. Maybe they announce a beta that's attached to it, things like that. Starfield obviously is another big one for them. If they can have Starfield playable at that event, and when I say playable, you're just seeing actual real gameplay from Starfield, and we find out what that game is, that's all people are going to come out of it talking about, no matter what. Halo and Starfield would dominate the conversation. And then, like you're saying, Gary, there will definitely be some things that we go, wait, they're doing what? Like,
oh yeah,
where's
there's
that
always that
from?
one more thing,
Yeah.
right? They got to have that total surprise for sure.
Yeah. So
that I will be disappointed if they don't have that like one more thing, right? Like you got to have that.
Yeah.
Like
we've got to have the one more thing.
We've come to expect the thing that no one expects, right? We know there's going to be something, but we don't know what it's going to be. So I look forward to that.
Yep.
Gary, you talked about setting the bar, right? And setting expectations. And we've, as gamers, have really moved forward of like, hey, let's try to temper our expectations. We've seen executives from all over different game companies be like, hey, let's try to cool it down with what we expect here and let's have a good show. But with Xbox, right, there has always been this common conversation of they just don't have the games. Where are the games? When are the games, right? And we talk about setting expectations and, the lower the better, but let's try to meet in the middle. When do we look at this team and say, hey, the expectation bar has been raised? 23 studios, Halo Infinite, we talk about Starfield, we look at the Bethesda lineup, we look at the other studios. When do we say, hey, team, it's time to hit it and it's time to knock it out the park? Is there ever an actual conversation like that? Or do we need to say, hey, that might not ever be reality here and let's keep it in the middle ground? Because it's been a long time coming for this team to actually blow us away, right?
I don't know if there's ever like a specific Rubicon that you knowingly pass. We go, okay, on this day, Xbox finally put the where are the games question to bed, or whatever. Like it doesn't happen. Again, like there can be big like the Bethesda thing was a big step towards that, right? Because they acquired so many amazing games and studios all in one fell swoop that you actually did see the needle move literally kind of overnight, right? Because it's like they have all these different franchises now. So sometimes you do actually see it happen, but it's to me, it's much more of a glacial, gradual thing. Like it's like generally over the holidays tend to be big movers for this because all the big games come out over the holiday period. We get sales numbers and things like that. We have more things that we can look at. You can go back and analyze, January, February, go back and go, what kind of holiday did everyone have? What kind of E3 did everyone have? There are these kind of markers in the gaming calendar every year that you can kind of take the temperature of what's happening. But to me, it's more sort of the kind of thing that you kind of almost only really recognize in retrospect, where you kind of look back and go, look at the way things are now. Like Microsoft are way better than now. They're in much better shape in terms of their gaming portfolios and Game Pass and their whole offering than they were a couple of years ago at the end of the Xbox One generation. That, I mean, you could take that snapshot right now, and I think say that Xbox is better off now. It's a better proposition, a better offering in competition to Sony or whatever than it was at the end of the Xbox One generation. But it's I don't think it's something you recognize in the moment. I think it's something you recognize like through the lens of history after the fact. Like, oh yeah, Xbox is in a much better shape now, but it kind of creeps up. And it's like, you could say the same thing about Sony or Nintendo or the PC scene. Any scene that you want to point your microscope at. I think that it's, sometimes you notice it in the moment when it is a big movement, a big mover like, Bethesda, all these studios getting scooped up at once. But to me, it's something that happens almost like kind of in geological time. Like you don't really notice it as it happens. But when you take a moment to stop, look back at like at the end of it, we just had the end of a generation. There were a lot of pieces looking back on the Xbox One generation, and the immediate kind of first snapshot of history was like, you know what, the Xbox generation weren't that great. We've talked about it before, right? There weren't how many really memorable games came out of the Xbox One generation? Not that many. It wasn't brilliant. But we're already seeing much more positive signs about the Series S and Series X generation. So it takes just like anything. It takes time for the lens of history to kind of focus in and really kind of come up with an evaluation that is meaningful. It isn't just like today's hot take. So that's my answer basically.
No, yeah, Gary, when you take a step back, it's right. Go for it, Parris. I was going to say, I agree with you, Gary, on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree for the most part. I try to just simplify it to this. A year ago, Xbox is in a way better place today than they were exactly 1 year ago. That's the way I look at it. Now that we're in this new generation of gaming, this series, however you say it, generation of gaming, and you're just seeing all the initiatives that they're pushing out there, it's very exciting. I was talking about this earlier today on Twitter Spaces. Some people was asking that question, and my whole thing has been, we see the promise that's there. It's not there 100 yet. We're pretty close. We're literally on the precipice of all this, but they have to deliver. Now it's time for them to deliver on everything that they've been building up to, and we're like literally right there. And it kind of even ties back to the original thing about, what are they going to show at E3? Where are we? That's the start for them. I actually do think this show should be the one where they are very aggressive to say, here's what the future of Xbox looks like. Here's what you're going to get in a short term with something like Halo. And then you do show something off long term. That here's a new project we've been working on, which could literally, wow everyone that's watching it, so to speak, right? But we have the foundations in place for Xbox now. They have the hardware, the high end and the low end. They have obviously the cloud streaming, which is still technically in beta, but it's been working pretty well for them. They have the service in Game Pass that has just set the industry on fire, because that's all anyone talks about. It seems like every gaming conversation these days start with Game Pass, whether you like it or not, right? So that clearly means it's headed in the right direction. Now it's about delivering the thing that's most important. It's the games. They have the studios. They've made the acquisitions. They've made the partnerships. Now they just got to deliver them. And I do think they will. I really do. But we're not there just yet. Super close, but not just yet.
I'm so excited when we talk about E3, because it is only about 2 months away. And it's like Gary said, it's the Christmas of video games, right? We're all going to have so much fun. It's going to be a great weekend.
Yeah.
I want to ask you all what you're excited for. What do you predict? What's that one last moment? But you know what, Xcast fans out there, we got to wait. We got to save that for just a little bit, because I could do the whole show about this, but I can't do it just yet. So we'll pause on that and let's jump right in, because this is the Kind of Funny Xcast. We post each and every Saturday at 6 a.m. West Coast Best Coast time on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and on podcast services around the globe. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Leave a like and a comment. Of course, the question of the day, sunflower seeds or big league chew. We're talking baseball this week, so leave a comment. Let's go have some fun in the comment section. And of course, we'd like to thank our Patreon producers, Mick, the nanobiologist, Tom Bach, Elliot, James Hastings, Sancho West Gaming, Julian, the gluten-free gamer, Trent Berry, and Tyler Ross. This week, the Kind of Funny Xcast is sponsored by Purple Mattress, Honey, and Candid, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's kick off the show with our early impressions of MLB The Show 21. All right, everybody, let's kick off our big topic of the show, and that is MLB The Show 21. We're going to give our early impressions on the gameplay thus far and tell you what we think about this awesome baseball sim coming to Xbox. But before that, got to make it clear and let you all know that we were all provided PlayStation review codes and this free game. Thank you to PlayStation for that, for review and, of course, gameplay purposes. So for all of you to make that clear, we were provided codes by PlayStation. So thank you to them for the free game. Now let's jump into it, guys. I'm excited to talk baseball, and man, oh man, the show is on Xbox. I think that's the biggest statement we need to make clear. One of the best sports simulation video games on the planet has finally crossed over the line, and we get to play it, and I'm jazzed up. I don't know how much you guys got to play. I'll give everybody the warning out there that's listening. We got this yesterday, so really we've had 24 hours with this game. I don't think Barrett and Parris lost their minds like I did because I played 8 straight hours of it, but let's go around the way right now. Barrett, Courtney, how much did you get to play?
I think I've played a handful of hours at this point. I played like a game or two yesterday, and then I was playing with a bunch of different game modes earlier today. So I want to say like about 3 to 4 hours I've put into it so far.
Sweet. That's a good amount of time. Parris, how about yourself? How many times have you got to take a hit?
Yeah, about the same amount of time. And about the same amount of time. And it was just, played around with a few different modes, played around with a few different of the difficulty settings as well, the different ways that you can pitch and hit and field. And then I started up Road to the Show. So that's kind of where I am right now.
Sweet. I'm really excited. You and I will get to talk about Road to the Show. I know Barrett jumped into franchise mode, which is what he really likes, but I actually want to start with that kind of tutorial and different ways to play, because Barrett brought that up to me before we recorded, Parris, and I was like, oh, my game actually glitched out at that moment and didn't load for me. So I rebooted the game and it just kicked me to the main menu and let me go. And I will give this everybody a nice one out there of like, I still jumped into an exhibition match and it still brought up a great tutorial for me to learn and play. Yeah, but I don't think I got what you guys got. So what is that? Can you break that down for me, one of you two?
Yeah, so always my recommendation for new players of the show, even like last year before it was out on Xbox to a bunch of new players, was if you're new to the show and you want to get into baseball, especially last year when there wasn't baseball, when there should have been, and people were getting the show to fill that kind of void for them, I'd always recommend like go into like a quick play match, play with all the different settings, fine tune it to make it feel like the baseball game you want to play. Because that's something I've always applauded MLB The Show for, is just the variety of different play styles you can have to kind of fit what makes sense for you. And so that was always my recommendation for new players. And I love that in this version, I think this might be the first time, this is at least what I can remember, at least, like they actually have you sit down when you start the game and like, hey, let's like do some like practice pitches, practice at bats and stuff like that, and play around with like all of like there's kind of like 3 main different modes. There's like casual, simulation, and then like I think like the super competitive one, and play around with them, fine tune it in the ways that you want it. And I like that the game kind of like has you sit down and figure that stuff out at the very beginning. So people who are just looking for that kind of like quick play kind of vibe, a little more casual, can just go in there and not be overwhelmed with everything else that's going on that you can get in depth with. So yeah, I really like that they kind of make you sit down. I'm sorry that you didn't get like that full experience, Mike. So like that really sucks. But I think that's going to be really great for new players, especially who are joining up on Xbox now and Game Pass, who are going to want to dive either really deep in or be as casual as they want to.
Parris, did you like that tutorial? Like, because when I hear that, right, I come from a big sports background. As you guys know, I love all the sports games. And I think NHL has really elevated the game for beginners and welcoming in people who might not know the sport to start off with or really want to learn the stick skills, right? And they have this incredible tutorial with actual NHL players and they break it all down. What did you think about that, especially jumping into baseball where most people can just say, well, it just seems to be pitch and catch and you hit a couple of times. Can't be that difficult to learn, but there is a lot of stuff going on in the background here.
Well, I think it really helps, again, for the novice that doesn't know the game. I think the tutorial helps a lot in that regard. So you understand, kind of like Barrett was saying, so you get the basics down. You do get the basics of this is how you pitch. This is how you swing the bat. This is depending on, you can go through what difficulty that you want to do. I think I want to say there was 4. I messed around between vet and all-star just to kind of see the difference on how brutal it was. Let me tell you right now, Tyler Glasnow throwing 99 mile per hour heat at All-Star
It's
is a
a lot.
mofo. Is a mofo.
That's why,
just so
like,
you know.
I think I always start every year at like veteran, and then I put on dynamic difficulty so it can kind of adjust me.
Yes, and that's what
a little
Ultimate
bit.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, this is great for your Gary Whittas who are like interested in this game and are gonna pick it up on Game Pass day one, and are like, I don't know how to play baseball. All I know is cricket. Let's get into here and like kind of like step by step, baby steps of learning what.
But that's what the casual mode is for.
Exactly,
the casual mode is literally for Gary, for someone like Gary who doesn't know the game, to kind of hold your hand a little bit and make it easy so you understand the fundamentals of baseball. You can have fun with it because you can actually hit the freaking ball versus, getting struck out every time and swinging and someone's throwing you a slider on the outside or something like that. They're getting balls over the plate as the pitcher, or you being a pitcher, you understand the difference between a curveball. You understand the difference between a slider, what a changeup means versus a fastball, things like that. You know what I mean? It simplifies the fielding for you. So it's easier, when someone hits something to the gap, you're not letting it go over your head, things like that. So it's, again, you said it at the top, Mike. To me, I know you said to me, it is the best sports simulation game for the past decade. It just has been. They've really made it super advanced at the simulation level for advanced players, but they do give you that casual mode so that novices can walk in and understand baseball. That's what MLB wants. They're trying to make this game, they're trying to make it so it hooks you into liking baseball, so that when you stop playing the game, guess what? Now you're going to go turn on the TV and you're going to go see Crenshaw out there striking out 12 people. You know what I mean? And you're going to understand how he's doing that. You're going to watch, Tatis, when he comes back from injury for the Padres, hitting homers and doing all this stuff, right? And you understand the game. So, yeah, I freaking love it because I think they really have set it up for success no matter your knowledge of the game, no matter your entry point into baseball, whether you're a veteran or a new person coming in, there's something there for you to enjoy.
It's a great segue right there of like, I want to go into the presentation, right? That sales pitch of getting you to now enjoy the game of baseball and be interested enough to maybe turn on a game on TBS or go out there and buy a ticket and hang out on a Sunday afternoon. It's really incredible, the presentation that this show brings on, right? We talked about how sports game is usually like, hey, this is the mecca of visuals in video games, right? You see the sweat coming off Zion in NBA 2K. And when you look at the presentation, I always call it the dad test, right? If my dad walks into the living room, does he think that this is an actual broadcast on TBS, right? And sure enough, he walks in there and goes, oh, I didn't know the Rockies were playing today. And it's like, that's how good this game looks every single year. And so I want to ask you guys, like, what did you think of the presentation? Is it there? Is this next gen feel?
It is absolutely there. And for full disclosure, I've been playing it on the PlayStation 5, so the next gen. And man, the first game I played as it was still installing was the Rays at the Dodgers. I was at Dodger Stadium. The only reason I knew this was not real is because there was a crowd in the current state of the world. You know what I mean?
And also like the licensing stuff where they have to replace certain like billboards and stuff like that. Yeah.
But man, they, Sony San Diego does such an excellent job, with this series, and now with it being quote unquote next gen. I mean, what they're able to reproduce just with the player models as well, everything. I mean, it looks like the guys on TV, right? The stadiums are faithfully reproduced. It was great, man. Really, really good.
Yeah, presentation wise, like every year they somehow like one up it, and I think I oversaturate myself with MLB The Show because like I play it every year, so I only like kind of see it like the slow go where I imagine if someone hasn't played MLB The Show since like 2016 or 2017, they'll pop this and be like, holy crap, like this is next gen, this is MLB The Show for the PS5 and Xbox Series. And yeah, so like because I just got off of playing MLB The Show 20 back in October and stuff like that, like I kind of notice it, but since they've been slowly improving the visuals over the years, it's it's been crazy. But Mike, specifically for next gen stuff, is the field builder stuff that I want to talk to you about in a couple minutes, because I know you checked that out. The other presentation stuff for me is just like kind of menu layouts and stuff like that. I think I'm kind of used to like all the menus being like scrunched up, or you're checking off all the different modes and stuff like that, and it's like really slim and sleek this time around. I think it's very easy for people to follow, and you see like the 4 like kind of main game modes that a lot of people play, where it's like March to October, Road to the Show, Diamond Dynasty, and Franchise, and then you go down below and you see like kind of very simplistic, like, hey, here are all these other game modes if you want to check these out. So I think it's simple, especially with a bunch of new players coming to the game series. I think it'll be easy for people to kind of explore around and stuff like that. But Mike, tell me about this park builder that I'm very interested to learn about.
I'm going to tell you all about this park builder. I'm going to put a pin on that and bring it right back in just a moment. To wrap up presentation, I just want to give the love to, of course, their broadcast, right? The broadcast team that they bring in to do all the voiceovers. It makes you feel like you are watching a Sunday afternoon game. And I'm going to keep saying that. It's like you could sit there on the couch and just put it in demo mode, and you'll get lost in the commentary. You'll have fun. And Barrett brought it up so well. It's like the options they give you, right? And especially on the presentation side of, you could have the MLB The Show presentation, or if you want, you could switch it to the MLB Network. And that's something I think sports fans really value, right? Yeah. You saw the team from TNT and all these different analysts come over to NBA 2K, right? And bring that stuff. Now you see it here where it's like, oh, put it on MLB Network. And like, there's those splash branding all over the place, the scorecards, everything. Yeah. And it just looks so good, and it feels like a true broadcast.
And again, with the variation of like the presentation as well, like you've got hybrid, which is, I think, kind of the default one that gets you into the game as quick as possible, but still has a lot of the commentary. For a lot of people who are like me and probably play a lot of this game every year, you probably kind of get tired of the commentary very quickly, especially when you're kind of doing the same stuff over and over again, and you're insane like me and playing every single game in a season in franchise mode. You get tired of the same commentary like over and over again, especially in like the same game. So you can like I think turn on like quick mode or something like that, so you can really just like get into the plays and stuff, and really speed up how fast you're going through a season. And for that, like, bring up my Spotify app and play some music in the background and just really speed through some games. So again, a lot of variety for a lot of different game modes for a lot of different styles of players. So again, so good.
Final piece on presentation, I know everybody will smile and get a good chuckle at and get a little warm heart here, is turning on the game and seeing the opening sequence with the Sony presentation logo.
It's so good,
and then going
time.
Into Sony San Diego splash screen, and it's like, this is gaming, right? Phil has always touched on it, and we've always touched on it here on the Xcast. It's like, no matter where you play, they want you to play and have fun, right? Mm-hmm. And there are studios and incredible developers that make awesome games everywhere on different platforms, and we want you to play that. And like, to see that, it was like that moment when they walked up on the Game Awards stage and all 3 of them were up there, the heads of the different companies, and like, we're in this together. And it's like, man, that struck home with me of like how cool that felt, and like smiling knowing like, man, I'm gonna play this game on Xbox, and this is awesome, y'all. And that was a really cool moment for me. So I definitely wanted to bring that up. I don't know if you guys like that or not, but I thought that was pretty cool.
It was great. And also like the opening kind of like hype reel at the the that they always do was so
good.
So, it was, I honestly think it was the best since I think MLB The Show 17 with Ken Griffey Jr. on the front. That intro was really good. And I think this is definitely the best one since that one. 'Cause like it did what it needed to do. It got me hyped to play baseball. I was like, all right, I'm ready to jump into some games. I'm ready to manage the Cleveland Indians and lose a bunch, but still get some fun hits and stuff like that.
Just one last thing on that, because like I said, I'm playing it on the PlayStation 5, but they did also provide us an Xbox code. So I want my son to get into this. So we have it installed on the Series X. And I just have to say, it was the weirdest thing to see Sony San Diego pop up on an Xbox. But at the same time, it excites me because there are so many people, and I'm sure you've seen this on social media and comments as well. There are so many people that have not experienced MLB The Show. And now this is their chance because it's on Xbox as well. And obviously people are picking up on Game Pass too. But as weird as it was to see Sony San Diego show up in that intro on an Xbox title, I'm excited for it too, man, because I'm just a baseball fan. I love baseball, and I love that, like I said, one of the best sports sim, not one of, sorry, the best sports simulator out there. More people get a chance to play it. And that's what it should be all about. Like you said, it's about the games, man. And now it's on another platform and exposed to more people, and that's a good thing.
It's like the perfect moment for spring. And let's keep going because there was a lot that I got to explore, and I know you guys got to explore. So Barrett alluded to the stadium creator, which is really cool and actually near and dear to my heart because over on the NBA 2K side, you can create your own court and stadium and go wild with it, right? You can upload your own images, you can change the different sideline art, you can change the backboards and all that, and it's really cool. And so when I saw this, I was like, man, what could this be? And oh boy, I mean, I put the statement in my little Google Doc that says, get ready to create, because there is a lot going on in this, right? And Barrett made the joke to me of like, I'm just a dumb, Mike. I don't think I can handle this. And I was like, Barrett, I'm the biggest dumb. And trust me, I can't handle this because there's so much cool stuff to do. There's over hundreds of props. You get to set the area of the backdrop to the foreground, the different areas around you. And they have this killer tutorial, which everybody's going to need to learn and use because there's a lot going on. But killer tutorial with this coach that will walk you through everything. Like I said, you get to set the canvas, or if you'd like, they actually have 29 pre-made stadiums that you can add to and elevate in your own certain way. So there's 30 to choose from right off the bat, one being a total blank canvas and 29 that have all different ranges from, similar to Pittsburgh with the bridge in the background, a cool, hip, young city to an old school farm like it was Angels in the outfield. Like there's so many cool ones that you can build off of and go from. Because when I went to the blank canvas, I felt overwhelmed. I was like, there's so much here and there's so much to learn in just a small amount of time before we got on camera and talked about it that I couldn't figure it out. I'm placing a T-Rex. Paris, there was a T-Rex they allowed me to put on there that moved. There was an animated T-Rex in the outfield that was moving. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm freaking out. But it was so cool to be able to set up stands, change the different fence lines, right? You can move the fence in and out. You can have that weird cutout like San Francisco Giants Stadium where they just have that weird area that's like totally not the right outfield, but it's in there anyways. Like you can move the fence however you want, change it. You can name the stadium. You can do the color of the seats. You can do everything to the foreground and the background. And it's like so cool. And the biggest one I took away that I really want to state there is that they said that you have up to 30 save slots for stadiums, meaning you can create 30 different stadiums and you can use them for online mode, custom leagues, and, online franchise and road to the show, which is crazy to think about. You can set them as the MLB or the minor league teams. And it's like, oh man, you can create all these. You could create a stadium for every single team and just make your own custom stadiums for all the teams in the league, which is so funny to think about.
I can't wait to play so many user-created stadiums. Again, I'm too much of a dum-dum. I'm not going to be able to design anything that's remotely cool, but I'm excited to see what a bunch of users out there are going to be able to create.
And that's just another perk, the community inclusion with stuff like that, man. Like you said, it's going to be crazy to see some of the stuff people make.
It's so cool. It's called The Vault. And yes, it will open up to the community. Of course, when we got our review codes, online has not been turned on yet. So we'll touch on that in a little bit. But I couldn't see what Parris made. I couldn't see what Barrett made because it's not there yet. But the idea of what we've seen from Forza, right? And we've seen other user created stuff of man, like Barrett said, The Vault is going to be popping, right? Somebody's going to make some killer stadium or somebody's going to have a cool idea that I'm going to import into mine. And I can't wait to check out. So this stadium creator has a lot going on, and I can't wait to see the people who really take advantage of that and spend the time and create something awesome, because I know my good friend Washburn's going to love it. But let's switch gears and talk about some gameplay now. So I want to touch on with you and I, Parris, we started Road to the Show. And Road to the Show, I mean, when you look at the MLB The Show package, that is the gem. That's the jewel, right? All these other modes are very good, and we're going to touch on them, but their jewel is Road to the Show. It's just like any other single-player campaign that you'd see that's been added into the sports world, but this one is the mecca, right? This is start from AA, minor league baseball, work your way up to the big leagues, and it's fun, it's cool, and it's one of the best. It is the best, Parris. Like you said, it is the best, hands down. What did you think of the intro to Road to the Show for you?
Oh, loving it. Loving it. I love now you and so people know this is basically like you creating your own player and you're starting from A ball and this is your rise up through the majors, right? But I love now they've added this video podcast feature.
Yes.
Like I literally got Cliff Floyd talking to me about my progress in the game, and it's like, whoa, oh, this is freaking cool. So again, it goes back to what we're just talking about, though. Presentation. I just think MLB does such a great job with that. It really engages you and gets you excited about your own player and like the progress that you're doing. I love that they have the two-way feature in here now where I can go in and pitch, and I can also obviously play out in the field as well. And you kind of get to choose your path, which one you feel that you'll be better on as you can go. And I'm still very early into it, obviously, but like you said, to me, Road to the Show is the crown jewel. This is the true simulation part of it where you get to see all the intricate parts of baseball from the bottom all the way up to the pinnacle, if you so choose to continue all the way to the end, by obviously, getting on a team in the majors. That team goes to the World Series, the whole thing. So yeah, I freaking love it because it just allows you. Again, I talk about from a Gary standpoint. Sorry, Gary, you're not here, but a Gary can go to Road to the Show, and it's literally going to teach him almost like how the history of baseball, the mechanics of baseball, how baseball works from its very early beginnings to the pinnacle top. Right? You're going to learn that whole story if you go through Road to the Show. That's why I like it so much.
So I want two things really quick. First off, thank you, Parris, for bringing up the podcast because I freaking love that podcast so much. And if you guys remember, I brought it up on Dirt 5 of like how cool it was to have this podcast that kind of like chronicles your gameplay through your campaign, and it's keeping up with the moment. And like it's called Road to the Show podcast, hosted by Ben Gelman, and it has MLB analysts show up, right? And that was the coolest vibe of like, oh my gosh, I've seen this guy on the broadcast. I've seen him on ESPN, and he's talking about my player. And the production quality is through the roof on this podcast, and it's so cool. And like you said, I brought up to Barrett, right? I'm so accustomed to Road to the Show where before you play, you kind of pick your position, right? I know that I'm going to be Kenny Powers, the pitcher. I'm going to be that relief pitcher. I'm going out there and I'm doing the move, Parris, and I'm having fun. But this year it's different where it's like, hey, are you kind of an outfielder or an infielder? And like you start answering questions via text. And then they break it down. They're like, oh, you're a dual player right now. You have two positions. You're going to pitch and do that position, which is really cool because it's like, I wanted to be a pitcher, but like when you play pitcher, you're locked into pitcher, right? You either throw the balls or like you come in and you're the relief pitcher and you play 3 innings. It's cool to see the other side, right? It's like, oh man, what is shortstop doing? And you see the shortstop, what he's doing. And I love that they're switching it off. And the podcast is even talking about that, Parris, right? Of like, hey, this is a dual position player right here. We don't really see this. Is this going to be a detriment to him? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like really fun of like one night you're going to go over here and you're going to be the pitcher. The other night you're going to be shortstop or whatever position you choose. And it's an absolute blast to have that freedom and opportunity early on and not be pigeonholed into one position, which I truly love. And I think I want to flip it over to Barrett now because this is a good moment for Barrett to come in here with this dual position. I don't know if you noticed up on the top left of your screen, Parris, there's a player loadout now is what it's called. So up on the top left, you can click on it. It has your player's appearance, your my player, your different loadouts. And this is one thing I want to talk about is with this dual position, you're going to want to make multiple loadouts because you're going to play 2 different positions every other game, right? And so I have a shortstop loadout and I have a pitcher loadout. And Bear, you can talk to me about this. It's like you get to choose the attributes for each loadout and switch them on the fly each game, which is super awesome because I have for each position.
Yeah, again, like Road to the Show isn't my cup of tea usually for MLB The Show. I was raised by a broken person who plays sports games and only did franchise mode in like NHL and Madden, and that's just how I was taught to play sports games. So that's just all I do. I'm sorry, but like going in there and like kind of thinking about in the mindset of like what you would want for Road to the Show and like having that adaptability, I think is really really cool. And I also think kind of speaks to how a lot of players kind of start
startup and are trying to find their positions and are trying to like
Right.
figure out like where they
Where
kind
you
of
fit in.
belong on a team and stuff like that. So honestly, I think with that that kind of adaptability to having these different loadouts, I think is awesome. And playing around with it was really fun, of like having like the main attributes, but then also looking at like the smaller perks that you kind of look at with like speed and power and stuff like that. I thought it was really, really cool.
Paris, what did you think of those? Like, did you like adjusting the traits of like the cheese fastball to like super speedster and the contact hitter and, you know, slugger? What did you think of that?
I mean, it literally brings an RPG element into the game, and that's great. And it allows, I keep going back to the Gary thing. It allows Gary to be able to tinker.
Where's
You
this
get to
cricket
figure out-
bat, mate?
Yeah, but it allows you to tinker with what you like best, especially from the pitching standpoint. You find out what pitches that you really like to throw, what you basically want to add to your arsenal.
Yes.
Again, as you're going through, through the road to the show and eventually get to the majors. So yeah, I think it's great, man.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool. And the gameplay has elevated over the years, right? I've played MLB The Show on the opposite side on PlayStation for so many years now. And like to see it every single year grow, from the animations to the play style to the different things that they bake into it, right? Like now there's like live challenges while I'm on the mound. It's like, hey, this inning, like don't throw, don't walk somebody, or like throw 3 strikeouts, and you can choose, and like you choose which one, and it's going to go to your attribute boost at the end of the game. It's like, oh man, I love having these pop up in the middle of my gameplay out of nowhere with a challenge, because it's so fun. It keeps you involved in it.
Exactly.
And the best part about, me and Parris, we talked about this before, is like having this day and date on Game Pass, but also on cloud streaming. It's just like back in the day when it was on Vita and you could take your save on the go. Road to the Show is really good, of like, you can watch the full game or you can just have it sim to moments you play.
Yeah.
I can only imagine me walking the dogs and playing, oh, here's my at bat. Look down at the thing, walk down the street. Oh, I'm out in the field for this one, and play it. Like, it is going to be so awesome to have that versatility and adaptability to play anywhere. I love it.
Yeah, that mode specifically for like it being able to like play your little moments and having that on the go is perfect. March to October, which I think was added in 2019 or 2018, which is kind of like a highlights version of franchise. Like I think that mode will be perfect for people who want to play it on the go, just to, like have like quick little sessions with it. I think will be really, really great.
I love that. Barrett, you said you're a franchise guy, and franchise has been a staple in all sports games. It's been one and the only, and it's always followed through, but they've always added a lot more, from like concession stands and ticket sales, and it's gotten down into like this crazy simulation of like make money and stuff.
Gritty of like franchise and like management and like salaries and all that stuff. I keep it pretty simple. Like I'll kind of like try to manage like player salaries and like that kind of budget. But when it gets to like the concession stands and like the specific like of the stadiums and stuff, I'm like, man, I'm just trying to play some baseball. I'm going to be honest here, and I want to play through a season and like earn my way to the World Series and stuff like that. So I don't get into the nitty gritty, but yeah, I feel like there's something that's added each year. I haven't gotten super in depth with this year yet to be able to see if there's anything majorly new for that franchise, but again, every year it's just kind of it's fun to get into it, especially like playing with my team Cleveland and seeing the new roster, especially when there's a major shakeup. I feel like this year, and getting more familiar with the player names and stuff like that. Like I started up a game yesterday and it's like, oh my god, I only recognize 3 guys right now. Like that's where like Cleveland right now is in a shakeup, and it was weird to be like, all right, all I know is like Jose Ramirez, Roberto Perez, and Luplo, and I don't even remember Luplo's first name, but like Jordan Luplo, I think in right field or something like that. And it's like, all right, I got to familiarize myself with the rest of the team. And I think being able to play franchise mode and like play a bunch of games with them is gonna like help with that. And when I actually like watch the tribe play on TV, I can actually like know like who's doing what, like kind of like what were their stats from last year and stuff like that, and have more of an understanding. It'll be great. And for people who kind of want like a less in-depth version of like playing through a season, I highly recommend March to October, which they added a few years ago, which is like franchise, but they have you like play kind of like key moments in a game, and then based on your performance there, it'll kind of like add like your luck to games that you don't play, and it'll like give you projections of like if you're doing super well, this is probably how many games you're gonna win by the end of the season. If you have like a cold streak, that'll probably go down and stuff like that. It's a really fun kind of quick way to go like burn through a season and try to get to the World Series. So highly recommend it.
Really, really great. And I think we all share the enthusiasm and fun and excitement of what so many people around the globe will experience. And now really on the Xbox podcast are Xbox fans out there that will get to experience this day and date on Game Pass, which is really, really something special. A couple of small things that I noticed, and I don't know if you guys did much digging into, but of course we'll talk about it next week as we have more time with it. But I wanted to look at the accessibility, right? We always touch on like what are they doing here? What kind of things? And I noticed they did have closed captioning. It said, hey, do you have the bottom line ticker on? Just like any sports thing. That's where they put the closed captioning on. And it was really good, right? It had all of the words popping up there. It was legible, but I didn't notice a font size change. And I think you guys will notice it. Parris, you'll talk with me about this, of like Road to the Show does a great job of avoiding what NBA 2K had with just bad dialogue lines. Like NBA 2K has some cheesy, dumb dialogue where it's like, I got to stop playing this. This one, though, does more text bubbles, like it's on a text message when people come and talk to you. But I noticed, Parris, I'm burning my eyelids off looking at the video game all the time. But it's like, I noticed that the text was very small to me. I didn't notice anything changing on that. What did you think of the text size? And did you see anything that said, hey, adjust the text size and the menus and all?
Yeah, and I thought, obviously it could be a little bit bigger. It didn't bother me too much, but like you're talking accessibility, it'd be nice if there was a feature there to increase the size of it. So maybe that's just some feedback, the team can take back and they can update in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Something we'll keep an eye on throughout the week. Like I said at the top of this, we've only had it for 24 hours, right? We've done so much. And we're going to talk about this next week some more. But that is one to all of our listeners and viewers out there is I'll make a note of like talk to Blind Gamer Steve and just say, hey, what do you see on the accessibility side? You might not be the biggest sports fan, but you always push this out there for me to learn and grow with. And so it was fun, Parris, when we talk about this, right? And being somebody who doesn't have those problems, it's like, oh, now I'm meeting new people, right? Like Steven Spahn from Able Gamers. I'm meeting so many people around the globe. It's like it's opening me up to trying to figure that out and learning from that and being educated about it.
And being more mindful of like, does this work for everybody? Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's fun to be like, hey, like I'm looking for that now. Like I click the start button and I want to see an accessibilities menu and I want to see certain things hit not only for me, but for others. And so we'll talk about that next week. I'll bring on Steve and he can kind of guide us through that. But a final one I want to touch on is one other mode that we got to play, you and I, Barrett, was classic mode. Now, classic mode is just a dumb, fun one. And I love that they have these of like, hey, are you kind of burnt out on the badass baseball that we're giving you? Why don't we give you something easy and dumb to turn your mind off to?
Let's give you N64 era baseball gameplay where you're just sliding people back, and even like Super Nintendo where I'm playing Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball. You're just sliding back and forth, your batter, your pitcher, and you're just throwing, and you have to. It took me a second to like. I'll bring up my DualSense where you have to hit like the analog buttons to point where you're going to throw, and then you press X. Like that took me a minute to like realize. I think they've had classic mode they definitely had it last year. I just never tried it out. But yeah, it is silly, and I honestly wish they would go all out. I was trying to like look in the options to see if there was like a mode for it. I was just like, give me the shitty graphics. Give me like the like really like if we're going classic, let's go all out classic. But I love like if you like hit a pop fly, it'll do like the like following the ball, like the shitty guys like fall, strike, ball, and it's so good. It's very nostalgic, but I would love if they like went all out and did like gave us some like old school graphics for that. I think that would be hilarious. But yeah, that is a very casual game. If you're a parent and you're getting like in depth in franchise, and your 5-year-old's like, oh, I really like baseball, let's play a game together. I think this is like a fun mode to bring up and play a few innings in. So yeah, we tried that out. I think that was fun. And then one thing, again, we weren't able to access stuff that needed online functionality. What I thought was interesting was Moments was also tied to that. If you don't know, Moments I think was added a couple of years ago as well, I think to 19, and where you got to play like key moments in baseball history. I think like the example I always bring up is MLB The Show 19 having like the first home run that Babe Ruth got in their career, their professional career, and being able to play that moment and stuff like that. So I'm guessing that those are going to be tied to online functionality in the sense of like they're probably going to like add and drop like certain moments like throughout and like keep it updated and like have a curated list that like every week here's like a handful of like cool moments that you can try out and stuff. Because I think in like 19, like they were all kind of like just preloaded in there. So I'm interested that it was like tied to online functionality. So that's my one theory is that they're gonna try to have like a curated list of like, hey, here's a certain amount of time that you can play this like moment in history, or hey, there was a crazy play that happened last week. Let's update it and like here's something that you can try out. That's a theory though. We'll see when it actually comes out, like what that's all about.
I'm really excited about the moments because it's always a great time to have fun with that, but also kind of an educational one to see that moment, right? And of course, collector's edition, the big one on the box, Jackie Robinson. And that's going to be a special one. It's like to go back in time and see what that was like. And like, they're going to kill it with the stadiums and the vibe of the old school, right? And so like, that will be cool to be transplanted back in time and see that and celebrate Jackie and all the things that happened there. Like, that's going to be cool.
My one concern, and again, this is only tied to my theory. I'll probably be totally wrong once this goes live and stuff. But like, because it was so curated in MLB The Show 19, there's like a lot of presentation and teaching you the specific history of like what led up to the first home run for this certain player, or like what led up to this specific moment in the Cleveland Indians Chicago Cubs World Series and stuff like that. And if it is more of like a curated where they're kind of like taking on and off things, I wonder how in depth they'll actually get with that. But we'll see. Again, I'm just putting on my tinfoil cap and trying to figure things out in the next few hours before everything pops.
Things we couldn't play, like Barrett brought up: Diamond Dynasty, Challenge of the Week, Moments, online, and custom leagues. Remember, it is promoting cross-platform play. Day one on Game Pass, April 20th, along with cloud gaming on Android. Whole lot of fun to be had. We're going to talk about it more next week and give more thoughts on it. But just to go around the table before we leave, Parris, what do you think so far on your 24 hours of gaming with MLB The Show?
I think it's fantastic, and I think I've talked about this before, that I hadn't played MLB The Show the past few years. I kind of took a break from it, but obviously just the hoopla around this one coming to Xbox and everything, I thought this was a great opportunity to jump back in, seeing that we're now on next-gen consoles, and I'm loving it. Again, the presentation, the difficulty, play it on All-Star. If you want a hard game, please. But I'm loving it. I'm a baseball fan. I have been my entire life, and just the fact to get in there and be able to play again. And like I said, I'm still trying to catch up with the fastballs, but it's fun. I'm having fun. And ultimately that's what it's all about. And like I said, Road to the Show is just the pinnacle of that simulation experience. So highly recommend for people to go check it out. Again, if you're on Xbox and you have Game Pass, it's worth a shot. Give it a look, see if it's something for you. And if you're a novice to baseball, I think this will be a great entry point to learning about the game.
Barrett, how you feeling at the 24?
It's interesting. Kind of my thoughts on MLB The Show 20 last year was it felt more of the same of 19. I felt like 19 had a lot of like new ideas, a lot of shakeups. Again, as someone who plays every year, I kind of see the ins and outs, and I can feel when something feels a little too repetitive, or if this just feels like just like more of last year and stuff like that. I think it is too early to say for me personally if this is just more of the last two games, or if they're going a little more in depth with each mode and stuff. From what I could see from surface level, there isn't like one new crazy mode that's being added. My interest will be, though, is the reaction of this game between PlayStation players and Xbox players, with Xbox players being able to pick it up on Game Pass, try it if they're not really into baseball, not feel like they have to put a lot of investment into it. If they are big baseball fans, they have Game Pass, even better. But with PlayStation fans, I do believe, is it is it next gen version that's going to be $70, and then PS4 version is $60, I believe. And with possible PlayStation fans who buy a PlayStation specifically because they play MLB The Show and maybe play it every year, is $70 worth possibly more of the same? I don't know, and it'll be interesting to see what the difference in reaction will be there. And again, I just love baseball. I love being in baseball, so it's just more of the same for baseball with me, and that's what I need at least. And you know, it's great. Sony San Diego kills it every single time, at least with what we need as a baseball game. And yeah, I'm excited to play a bunch this year.
After 24 hours, I am super excited. And of course, we'll talk more about it because I want to jump into Diamond Dynasty. I'm really itching to open some packs and then also talk about those packs costs and what's going on with that. But I will say this, MLB The Show is always in the top 5 category for best sports games of the year. After all the sports games I played this year and it coming over to Xbox with a brand new audience and the energy bump it's going to get, I'm putting my money down on this is going to be sports game of the year right now. This is going to be something special, something we talk about. And it's always in the top 5. And sometimes it gets overlooked. Sometimes it gets the love. This year's the year.
It's too early.
Get it.
Mario Tennis is coming this year. All right? Come on, man.
Wait, golf. Mario golf.
No, it's golf. Yeah, sorry.
We're going to end this segment with a viewer question coming in from Brandon. It's more of a statement and a special one that I wanted to share with our Xbox community. With the addition of MLB The Show, Game Pass will have all major sports titles at the same time with Madden, FIFA, NHL, and NBA 2K21 already on it. As sports fans and as a sports video game fan, I've never had all of these games at my fingertips at this same time before. Brandon, wow. It's not a question, it's a statement, and it's a true statement. Sports are great, video games are great, and now you, with Xbox Game Pass, get to experience all these titles, save yourself a bunch of money, and get to play them with your friends because that's what it's all about. Parris, did I hit the head on that one?
Oh, absolutely.
Knocked it out the park. We're going yard. We're hitting dingers. We're having fun getting popcorn. We're having fun getting hot dogs. I'm chewing Big League Chew. I'm spitting out seeds, and I'm throwing nasty sliders at you. I love you. Let's continue on the show. But first, let's take a moment to hear from our sponsors. This week, the Kinda Funny Xcast is brought to you by Purple Mattress, Honey, and Candid. Up first, Purple Mattress. As the world becomes increasingly uncomfortable, we are all looking for as much comfort as we can get. It's like being stuck between your two friends in the middle seat on a long airplane ride, and they won't share the armrest with you. Sometimes it's just uncomfortable. But the one thing we at Kinda Funny can always count on is how comfortable Purple Mattress is. That's because Purple is comfort reinvented. Only Purple has the Grid, a stretchy gel material that's amazingly supportive for your back and legs while cushioning your shoulders, neck, and hips. Because of how it's designed, the Grid doesn't trap air. Air actually circulates and flows through it, so you'll never overheat. The Grid bounces back as you move and shift, unlike memory foam, which remembers everything. That's why memory foam has craters and divots. Tim loves his Purple pillow because it stays cool all night and makes for a comfortable and enjoyable night of rest. Joey loves her Purple mattress because it was delivered to her door, and she says it feels like sleeping on a cloud every night. And right now, you can try Purple mattress risk-free for free shipping and returns. Financing is available too. Purple really is comfort for an uncomfortable world. Right now, you'll get 10% off any order of $200 or more. Go to purple.com/kindafunny10 and use promo code kindafunny10. That's purple.com/kindafunny10, promo code kindafunny10 for 10% off any order of $200 or more. Purple.com/kindafunny10, promo code kindafunny10. Terms apply. Up next is Honey. We all shop online. Personally, I'm shopping daily looking for the best tech and gaming equipment I can find for the studio. And we've all seen that promo code field that taunts us at checkout. But thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is a thing of the past. Honey is the free shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one it finds to your cart. Honey supports over 30,000 stores online that range from high-tech gaming products to popular fashion brands and even food delivery. So you're probably asking yourself, how does it work? Imagine you're shopping on one of your favorite sites. When you check out, the Honey button drops down, and all you have to do is click Apply Coupons. Wait a few seconds as Honey searches for coupons it can find for that site, and if Honey finds a working coupon, you'll watch prices drop. One of our founders, Tim Gettys, uses Honey all the time when he's purchasing hot new tech for his home, cute dog products for Moose, or just everyday items whenever he's shopping online. Honey has saved him thousands of dollars, and he loves it. Honey has found its 17 million members over $2 billion in savings. If you don't have Honey already, you could be straight out missing out on free shavings. It's literally free and installs in a few seconds. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting this podcast. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/kinda. That's joinhoney.com/kinda. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Candid. Unhappy with your smile? You don't have to be. Thousands of people have used Candid, the clear, comfortable, removable, and practically invisible aligners to help straighten their teeth, and now they love their smile. Just like Justin M. from Atlanta, Georgia. He says, when I was younger, I used to have a gap in the front and on the side. I noticed that people would always look at my mouth first, so I was looking for a fix. Candid ended up being the perfect company for me. You can't stop me from smiling now. There's no comparison. And Candid is here to help straighten your teeth so you can fall in love with your smile too. Your treatment is prescribed and closely monitored remotely by a licensed orthodontist who's an expert in teeth movement. You'll have the same quality of care you'd get from an in-office orthodontist from the comfort and convenience of your own home. And while other companies use general dentists, Candid only works with orthodontists. With Candid, the same orthodontist who created your plan is with you from the start to finish, so you'll never have to wonder how you're doing. The average Candid treatment is just 6 months. You'll start seeing results way before then, and it costs thousands less than traditional braces. Becomes your best you. Start straightening your teeth today. Right now, you can save $75 on Candid starter kits. Go to candidco.com/kindafunny and use code kindafunny. That's candidco.com/kindafunny. Code kindafunny. Take advantage of this limited time offer to save $75 on your starter kit. candidco.com/kindafunny. Use kindafunny. All right, everybody, let's talk about rumors and the ideas of Game Pass coming to Steam and Nintendo Switch. I see Parris laughing and smiling. This one's all about Parris. So let me give you a quick rewind here. Of course, the past couple of weeks have been about rumors and speculation all around Xbox. And our good friends over at Windows Central and Windows Central Gaming on YouTube, Miles and Jazz Corden, have put up a great article and YouTube video that you should go check out, because really what they did is they scoured the internet for all these crazy rumors and ideas. They pulled them together and they brought together themselves with their industry insider knowledge and their insights and their thoughts. And they told you good, bad, ugly, what they thought about it. So go check that out over on Windows Central and their YouTube channel, Windows Central Gaming, where Miles put up a great video. But really, the big one was about Xbox Game Pass coming to Steam and Nintendo Switch. So on the Steam side, this rumor came from Tyler McVicker on his Letting Off Steam YouTube video all about Valve and id Q&A, where he was asked, quote, is Valve considering a subscription on Steam like Game Pass, end quote. His answer, Valve is trying to get Game Pass on Steam. Boom. And I was like, say what? That's crazy. Then on top of that, then there was the Nintendo side from Windows Central. I'm just going to read right from the article that Jez put up to make it easy. Perhaps a little less obvious is the potential partnership with Nintendo, which comes via a combination of Jeff Grubb at VentureBeat and the legendary and award-winning industry insider Special Ed. Grubb noted in a YouTube Game Mess video that, quote, everything on Phil's shelf meant something, end quote, referring to the Nintendo Switch on the Xbox lead Phil Spencer's top shelf from his previous stream. Afterwards, Special Ed added that we'd learn more about that partnership in the fall. Everybody go check out the article and YouTube channel, but I got to go right over to Parris. Parris, you tweeted something. You said, hold up, wait a minute. Nintendo Switch Game Pass. What the heck? Is this a real partnership? Could this become reality?
First, let me say shout out to Special Ed. Him and I have had a few conversations offline. He's a good dude. But Can I talk about the Steam thing first?
Yeah, whatever you prefer. Let's go for it.
But I hope the Steam thing is true, because we talked about this on the show previously. The Xbox app on Windows still needs some work, in my opinion. It's serviceable, but when you compare it to the digital delivery that you get from Steam, it's night and day. If just like the way they've done it with EA Play on PC as well, if they could somehow integrate the Xbox app, like you basically link your gamer tag so that you can go through the EA Play store to download the EA Play Game Pass games, if they could do something like that for Steam, sign me up. I'm in, right? I would get all of my games via Steam. I would prefer to do it that way than to use the Xbox app. Like I said, for me anyways, it's just simply not there just yet. It still needs a few revisions before I feel like it can get to a place where I would be 100% comfortable using it all the time when I download my Game Pass games, on PC. So I hope it's true. I know nothing, obviously. Of course I don't know anything, but what do I know? I'm a moron. But yeah, I hope that rumor is true. That would be great to see. Now, the Nintendo Switch one. Yeah, I did tweet out, just kind of trolling a little bit because I keep seeing this come up. And I try to always use logic when I think about these things. And to me, I don't see Nintendo wanting to bring Game Pass to the Nintendo Switch. Of course, Xbox wants to do it. Xbox wants to put Game Pass everywhere. That totally makes sense to me. I absolutely could see them wanting to do it. But from a Nintendo standpoint, I just ask the questions. What is the incentive for Nintendo? Why would Nintendo want to do this? And I'm struggling to find an answer why they would want to do it. Number one, the Nintendo Switch sells just fine on its own. They don't need any help pushing hardware. So it's not like, we're not selling enough hardware for the Nintendo Switch, let's partner with Xbox because then maybe more people will buy it. They keep putting revisions out of that damn Switch and people keep buying it. 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, right? So look, I'm already debating getting the Switch Pro when it comes out as an example. So no, they're going to be fine on that. Software wise, they seemingly have a high attach rate with their first party lineup. So they're selling games on it. They obviously have some indie titles and some third parties. We knew Bethesda obviously was a big advocate of porting their games over to the Switch as an example. So I don't think they need help getting people to start purchasing games on there. I've seen people say, well, then maybe they want to boost up the online store presence. Like they'll tie it into, you have to sign up for Nintendo Online and then you can get Game Pass. Again, that's something you spend $20 a year on. I don't see that. That's not their primary focus. Just like the saying, cloud gaming isn't the primary focus of Nintendo Switch. Nintendo is Nintendo. They've never truly tried to compete with Xbox or PlayStation in that space. So they've always been great doing what they do, being very innovative with their hardware and making unique experiences with their games. So why would I want Xbox to invade my hardware and my quote unquote ecosystem by putting a cloud streaming app? Because it would most likely be cloud streaming. I can't see any of these games being ported over to the Switch in this scenario. Why would they want to bring Game Pass cloud streaming to the Switch and potentially start losing sales to their games? Because maybe someone that has a Switch now says, well, I don't need to buy that indie game. I don't need to buy this on there anymore. I'll just play it through Game Pass. Then I'll flip it and say, all right, the argument is, well, then what if Nintendo told Xbox, well, you can only bring a curated list of Game Pass to here. Like say it's only just their first party lineup. Okay, fine. Now you're creating a fourth tier of Game Pass. Because right now, when you look at Game Pass, it says what? Console, PC, and cloud. Now you're going to say console, PC, cloud, but cloud 2.0, because then we have the Switch Cloud 2, which isn't all the games. Now the messaging starts to get a little fuzzy to me. Now you got to over-explain things and all that. It seems like a big hassle to me. And I'm even trying to understand what is the incentive on the Xbox side to jump through all those hoops when you could simply say, you know, that iPhone and that Android phone you have, go use that. And oh, by the way, it also has 5G on it, so you can play these games wherever you want to. You're not just playing it where you have a Wi-Fi signal. So when I start asking myself all these questions, I just keep coming back to, I don't think this is going to happen. It just doesn't seem like it makes sense. It seems like it would get kind of messy in that way, right? Ultimately, I think all these Switch rumors and Phil having it on there, they're probably going to continue to partner up on specific games where it makes sense, like they did with Ori, like they did with Cuphead. Obviously, Minecraft lives there. We've seen Banjo come to Smash Brothers. Maybe Master Chief comes to Smash Brothers. Maybe there's a Banjo-Kazooie game being made, and that's going to come to Switch. Who knows? I mean, it could be anything like that. I think, to me, that makes more sense than full-on Game Pass coming to Nintendo Switch. So there you go.
Very well said, Parris. I always love when you just use basic logic. That's my favorite part about it, Parris. It's like sometimes we get way out there, right? We're just throwing things at the wall, hoping they stick. And sometimes you just got to dial it back and like, well, let's use some logic. 2 + 2 = 4 here. This doesn't seem like the right move for sure.
Right.
But Gary, you're all about clarity, right? You like to see everything out there. You like to understand it all. Would this get too messy? Is this the right move for both parties involved, right? It's not just Xbox. This is Nintendo on the opposite side. Would this be the move to be like, hey, come put this service on our product over here?
I mean, the short answer is I don't know. And I think sometimes it's okay to say that. You know, I know that when we're on podcasts and everyone expects us to have an opinion and a hot take, but sometimes it's just okay to admit that you don't know the answer. You know, we're not, I think this is often the problem with the internet is like, I got to have a take, I got to have an opinion on this. And so I'm going to shoot it out there. And so we end up with all this noise. And the truth is most people don't know what they're talking about. And I think honestly, you know, I can't remember what Eastern philosophy is, but you know, they say the beginning of wisdom is admitting that acknowledging that you don't know anything. Right. And I think that's kind of where I am with this. I haven't spent a ton of time thinking about it this week. I did see it earlier in the week, but it struck me as like so pie in the sky that I didn't really spend a lot of time engaging with it and thinking about it. It's only now that you brought it up and I just listened to Parris speaking about it quite thoughtfully for the last couple of minutes there that I'm now starting to I can put together the beginnings and some thoughts. But again, I don't know, but my early thoughts are Steam kind of makes sense because it is the big monolithic presence in gaming right now. Like if there's a gaming monopoly, if there's a monopoly in gaming anywhere in the gaming universe, it's Steam and PC games being sold on Steam. You know, there are so many other players out there. You know, Activision, Blizzard have their own store, their own launcher. Rockstar, Bethesda, Epic is obviously one of the big ones right now. Think about Epic, right? One of the biggest, most powerful companies in games, right? Billions and billions of dollars. They're taking on Apple. They're taking Apple to court, one of the biggest companies on the planet. You know, they've got billions of dollars of Chinese investment flooding in. They're a big, big, powerful company. They run Fortnite, one of the biggest gaming brands on the planet. They have their own store, and they have spent they just released some numbers the other day. They have spent a fortune investing in that store, getting exclusives on that platform to try and make some inroads, to try and begin to chip away at that monopoly that Steam has. Seriously, though, how much progress does it really seem like they've made? Do you think Steam's worried? Nah, they're really not. Epic might maybe kind of like get like a place for themselves in the gaming market where, you know, Epic Store makes sense for them to do it. They're making money. It's a part of their business portfolio. But like, are we going to we talked about wake up one morning, look back, oh wow, the shit changed. Are we going to wake up one day and go, oh wow, look at that, like Steam's not top of the tree anymore? It's honestly hard for me to imagine a universe where anyone ever comes even close to breaking the monopoly that Steam has on PC retail for video games. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why, even though Microsoft has its own Microsoft store and its own Xbox store, and you can go buy PC games directly from them, Halo Master Chief Collection's on Steam. Forza's on Steam. Their biggest games are on Steam because if you want to hit a mass market, it's just like, you know, in regular retail. If you've got a product that you want to bring to the mass market, you got to talk to Walmart. You got to talk to Amazon. You got to talk to the people that can put those products in front of a mass audience. And if you want to sell a PC game to a mass audience, I don't know how you can ignore Steam. So take that to the next level. Is there a version of this where Game Pass and Steam can do business together? Maybe. I don't know. I don't have an MBA. I don't have the Phil Spencer Galaxy brain. It kind of makes sense. The one thing that I think I can dismiss, and Parris made the same point, the Nintendo thing makes no sense to me at all. Nintendo doesn't care about playing with others. They're doing their own thing. They're making money hand over fist with the Switch and the Switch Lite. That's, you know, new hardware coming. Nintendo's fine. We go back to that story we talked. Remember that story years ago when It came out recently when they were talking about the retrospective of the launch of the original Xbox, where Steve Ballmer sent a team to Kyoto to see if Nintendo would be open to being acquired. They literally laughed them out of the room. It's like, get out of here. Nintendo is not, I don't think Nintendo is going to do that. We talked about Game Pass going everywhere. And I think when it comes to kind of neutral hardware manufacturers, like people that make TVs and things like that, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we talked about the Xbox, a smart app going into all kinds of different TVs. Maybe they'll do a deal with LG or Samsung or Vizio or a whole bunch of people. Who knows? I think that is coming though. The dongle, all the different things we talked about. Yeah, Game Pass everywhere. But like when you say everywhere, I think you have to cut. Nintendo is just, we've talked about this a million times. Xbox and Sony are here going head to head, similar consoles aimed at a similar market with similar specs, similar offerings, and they're just going at it all day long. Nintendo's way over here, just doing their own thing, making games on their own terms, coming up with wacky controllers and hybrid handhelds and things like that. And they've got Mario and Zelda. They are playing a different game to Microsoft and Sony altogether. Yes, they're ultimately in the business of reaching gamers, but they're different markets, different profiles, totally different offerings. Nintendo's just doing its own thing. The idea of them ever getting into business with Sony or Microsoft in any kind of meaningful crossover kind of way sounds ridiculous. At the same time, the thought just occurred to me, Mike, imagine if I got into my DeLorean right now, went back in time to like the mid 90s, found little SnowBikeMike and said, hey, guess what, kid? One day Mario and Sonic are going to be in video games together. You'd be like, get the fuck out of here. That is some bullshit. That's never going to happen. But look, that's the world we're in. So never say never. But right now, it's hard for me to see how it would make sense from the Nintendo standpoint.
It's so much fun to never say never, right, Gary? Because like you just don't know. And then we see Halo out there on social media. They post that nice Mario tribute art with Mario and Bowser and Peach pretending to be Master Chief, right? And it's like, could this happen, right? One day, could we see that? And you never know, in all honesty. But we do have a good question coming in from a viewer. Viewer question from Lucid Dream wants to know, does the disparity between the offerings of Xbox Game Pass versus Xbox Game Pass for PC bother you at all? And I'll loop it in as well, talking about Steam there. Would putting it with Steam maybe hide this kind of look that a lot of people have brought up and brought to light of, hey, I don't feel like I'm getting the most value out of this, like on the counterpart of the console? Should we be looking at it as apples to apples? And then as well, if you put it on Steam, would that kind of hide the difference there and make it clear that like, hey, this is that? Parris, what do you think on that?
It's funny because I've seen that come up a lot, and I guess I've never viewed Xbox Game Pass on PC as apples to apples as its console big brother, I guess, right? Would it hide it on Steam? Kinda, I guess, because obviously you're just seeing more games that are available to you, but obviously these are ones that you're now going to have to directly purchase, quote unquote, outside of the Xbox ecosystem. So it kind of in a way, but not really. But going back to my original point, I guess it's like let's take Outriders as an example. Like when Outriders came to Game Pass, I wasn't bummed that it wasn't coming to PC because I guess I never expected it to come to PC from a third-party standpoint. It's always great when we do see third-party PC games come to Game Pass. I'm obviously all for it, but I never walk into it as the expectation of it. Obviously, you're seeing with EA Play coming and now their PC games are coming too. That's great. They're adding more value to it. But I've never assumed it was going to be apples to apples. My bottom line expectation for Game Pass on PC has always been all of moving forward, all of Xbox's first party lineup will be there day one. That's kind of the appeal for me. I lean more towards the third party stuff and the indie stuff. If it's there, great. But my expectation is it will show up on the console and on cloud before it shows up on PC. But that's my own personal preference. I do get why people look at it as, well, I'm subscribing to Game Pass PC. How come the console people get this, but I don't get it? Again, it comes down to the partnerships that are being made, the agreements that are being made. It could be as simple as a third party says, well, I'm finding value by having Game Pass on the console, but I still want to capture those PC sales at the same time because I know there's an audience out there on PC that won't invest into Xbox the way that a console person will invest in the Xbox. And I guess I just look at it again from my own selfish standpoint that I play on all platforms. So I'm a Game Pass Ultimate guy. So if it's on PC, great. That would probably be my preference to play things on PC first. But if it's not, I'm more than happy to hop on a console and play it too.
It's interesting you bring that up of like the apples to apples comparison. I think you said it so well, Parris. It's like, I think we look at these and we just go tick for tat, right? Of like, they got that. Why don't I get this? So they get that. And it was funny when I read that question yesterday, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go take a stroll through Xbox Game Pass PC and try to, turn my brain off and say, hey, I'm paying $10 a month for this service on my PC. Do I find value in that? And as I scrolled through, my personal take was I do find value in that, right? I found a lot of games that I would personally download and play that would save me money from buying it over on a Steam, like we talked about, right? And it's like, man, I could find myself paying $10 for that. But I do agree. It's like, it is tough to look at the social media and understand that we're talking about an ecosystem and the wider world of everybody kind of having multiple consoles in their home, right? And when you look at it, it's like, oh man, they get this day one and I don't get that, or this and that. It is tough, and I don't think there's a perfect answer on that, but you said it so well, Parris, of you got to kind of take a step back and understand, like, this is that service. There's partnerships in place. We're doing their best, but I find value in $10 a month on what they were providing to that service over there.
I think so too. And I just thought about this. There's a reverse side to this as well. I saw people after the Age of Empires 4 reveal that was coming to Game Pass PC, and people were upset that it's not coming to console. So it's like, I almost look at them. They're not obviously completely separate because clearly it's all under Xbox, but PC has its value too, because like Flight Simulator right now is not available on console. That is a PC specific game, just like Age of Empires is built for the PC. There are games on Game Pass PC that from third parties that are made for PC. They're not on console. So that again is why I don't look at it as apples to apples, because there will be some variations in there from time to time, especially from third party, because they're making the deal that's best for them. And the PC isn't going to always be the best deal for them. Just like you might find scenarios where the console isn't the best deal for them. It is literally a case by case basis when it comes to that.
Gary, you're playing a lot of games over on PC. I know you've taken a stroll through the offerings before. Do you worry that you're not getting the bang for your buck over on the PC side with the Game Pass service?
It's so hard to say. And again, I have to really kind of check my privilege here and acknowledge that, I'm living on a free Game Pass Ultimate code that Microsoft gave me some time ago. So, it's really hard. This is actually something that I used to think about a lot back in the PC Gamer days. When I was editor-in-chief of PC Gamer in the 90s, we got sent so many games. Every game that came out, right, we would get sent the game. And we would play them, and because we were dealing with so many games, once you get used to doing that, it's kind of, you almost start to lose touch with the reality of that feeling of like, I spent $60 on this game. How do you get a sense of value when, as a reviewer, you haven't personally paid for that game yourself? Or, the whole idea of like, maybe you can afford to only, buy one game a month or one game every couple of months. And so like, you better make the right choice. I remember, when I was a kid, I used to save up my pennies, and every video game that I bought, like if I didn't feel like I got value out of it, it was like, man, like this was my one chance to really enjoy a game this month. And I blew it by buying the wrong game. When in our position now, it's like, if you don't like a game, you just move on to the next one that somebody sent you for free, right? And so you can kind of lose touch with like the boots on the ground reality of being a gamer who's paying for games and really feeling like you need a sense of value. And so I try to think about that when you ask me, like, how much value do you think you're getting out of Game Pass? It's hard for me to kind of square that circle, because I got it for free. And so I'm wealthy. And so I'm very, very fortunate that when I want to buy a game, I just buy it. And I may have a different sense of value than like the average gamer does, who's thinking more carefully about how their gaming budget is allocated. I say to people, Game Pass Ultimate, $15 a month. What's that? But for some people, that's not nothing. And, I think you have to kind of take that into consideration. So I have that all aside, I haven't spent a ton of time with Game Pass on PC, mostly because I've mostly been playing on console lately. And when I'm playing on PC, I've been playing, the no pixel stuff. And when I do play games, I usually just get them via Steam, because that's just where all of my games are. And this goes back to my the point we made about the earlier question of like Steam and why it's the place for where people want to be. I think part of the reason why people had such a negative reaction to the Epic Game Store and these other game stores popping up is that we just don't want the confusion. Like we have this in the streaming landscape right now. You want to watch a particular show. Oh, but is it on Netflix or Hulu or on Amazon or on Disney? Like you have to go finding, where your show is on your favorite streaming services. And now it's, I want to buy this game. Oh, but it's not on Steam. Well, where is it? Oh, it's over on this other launch. You got to download this other store. And this kind of competition's good, but that kind of fragmentation is confusing and annoying. And I'm looking at my taskbar right now. I've got 5-6 different game launches down here. It used to be just one, and now it's a much more crowded marketplace. On console, it's always going to be simple. Xbox Game Store, PlayStation Network Game Store. You just get a Nintendo eShop. You go there, and there's one store to rule them all. On the PC, it's much, much more like the Wild West, and that fragmentation again leads to better competition. But like having to launch a different, if I want to play Warzone, oh wait, it's not on Steam. I got to go launch this other launcher, and that needs an update, and that's a whole other thing. It's just a little bit more annoying and a bit more confusing. It's again going back to the value equation. If the central question is forget about Xbox, is Game Pass worth it? $10 a month as a PC player only? Poking around the Xbox app as I just was a few minutes ago when you were talking about it. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff there. I actually think it's pretty good value.
Yeah. And not to mention all the Bethesda stuff just got added to it as well. So that just makes it even better.
Right.
Yeah, it's always in the eye of the beholder, right? It's easy for us to say we find value, and somebody out there might agree and say, I found a lot of value. Some might not, but there is the option in the ecosystem we talk about, and especially over on the PC side where there is so many store launchers and so many people buying for your wallet to try to get in there and have you pay for certain games or purchase certain things. Xbox is over there like, hey, here's 100+ titles for $10 a month. If you're interested in this, then you can sign up for it, right? And it is one of those where we compared apples to apples because it has the name, and you look over at the big brother, like Parris said, of the console. But in all honesty, sometimes you have to take the step back and look at it and say, do I find value $10 a month on this PC side? And that's going to be in the eye of the beholder. But it is an interesting question when you talk about now the partnerships that we'll see and the back and forth of what will happen. A pretty fun one. So a great question from Lucid Dream. Moving on, guys. We're going to talk about what's on Parris's head right now, and that is the B&O Portal headphones from Bang & Olufsen. We got early impressions last week. Of course, big thank you to Team Xbox for sending us all a pair of these incredible headphones. And so I asked you guys your early impressions. You guys really blew me away. You only had a day to talk about it, so I really appreciate that. But it's been a week now, and you've got to wear them. You've got to use them in different settings. I want to know, what are your thoughts and, ideas so far on this headset now a week later?
I'm actually curious what you think.
Oh, okay.
Before I say anything, because like I said, we kind of gave our initial, but you've had time to play with it now. What do you think?
Parris, I have worn these all week, and I have enjoyed the heck out of these headphones. I am really impressed. And this was coming from a guy who was kind of stunned at the price, right? I didn't know the name brand. I'm not a big audiophile, as you guys have said. I usually just buy the Beats by Dre or the old Skull candies and tear them up, right? Yeah, exactly. And I just wear them and I'd have fun, right? And after a week of this, I have to say I'm truly impressed, and I'm a believer now, right? I am blown away by, first off, the design, right? I was wearing them around the house, and my girlfriend complimented. She said, dang, those look stylish and sleek and nice. And I was like, really? I didn't think of that. Usually because you're wearing them, you don't see yourself wearing them. You don't know what it looks like, right? And so I was impressed by that. But more importantly, I was impressed by the feel. Like you guys brought up, it is lightweight. And that was something that was catching my ear when you first talked about it. And I was like, man, how light can you be? You were talking about like tiny fractions of a pound, right? And so I put them on and I was like, wow, these are lightweight, comfortable, from the headband to mainly the ear covers, right? I think that's the big one we talked about on the Xbox side when we had the wireless headset. Is I was like, it's a little tight on my ears. These very soft, nice and cool with the leather. And I was truly impressed by the first off design and the feel of it. And then we're going to talk about it later on, but I wore these for 10 hours straight yesterday. Didn't take them off, put them to the maximum, just played games, watched movies with them. And I loved every moment of it. And there was never a time where I was like, man, I got to take these off. It's getting sweaty, or man, I got to take these off. It's just uncomfortable. It was cool. It was sweet. And there's a lot of fun functionalities that I actually like. And I want to go into it with you two I like the quick access of going from my Bluetooth to Xbox. Now that's something we'll talk about. It's not simultaneous like the Xbox wireless headset that we got to play with a couple weeks ago, where it is, hey, you can have your Discord call on PC and Xbox running at the same time. That doesn't let you do that, but I will say it is very quick to switch. I don't know if you guys have tested this, but I've gone from my phone to the Xbox, to the phone to the Xbox, back and forth. And it takes just like about less than 5 seconds to click on and keep it moving, which I was very impressed with. Parris, what did you think of that? Not having the simultaneous, Bluetooth/Xbox connection going on.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what I was talking about last week. And again, for full disclosure, I did basically the same exact thing that you did this week. This is what I use for everything. Gaming on the PC, gaming on the console, listening to music on my phone, everything that I did. Phone calls, I even took using this as well. I did some direct comparisons with the Xbox wireless gaming headset under the same scenarios as well, because obviously that one does Bluetooth and all that too. But like you said, it really comes down to what do you value? What are you looking for out of your headset, right? I don't even think it's a question. This is the best sounding gaming headset I've ever had, period. And I said that last week. That isn't the issue at all. It starts to come down to some of the quality of life stuff. Who are you targeting this headset at? If you're targeting at the typical gamer that's trying to play with his buddies, but one of his buddies is on PC and the other ones are on Xbox, you're going to want to take advantage of that simultaneous audio, Bluetooth, and the game chat, right? That makes sense. This one can't do that. The Xbox wireless headset can. If you're trying to have something that is a more lightweight, so like you said, I can wear it for 10 hours at a time, and I literally forget it's on my head at certain points, right? I want that crystal clear audio to take advantage of all that stuff, even if I'm in a competitive game. I'm going to choose this over the Xbox wireless headset. Microphone-wise, I would probably choose the Xbox wireless headset. I think that microphone actually was a little bit better than this one, but this one is more stylish because it's the quote-unquote virtual boom mic in it, right? This one also has the app that you can put on your mobile device, and you can control it that way and tweak the equalizer and things like that. It is clearly the better headset. Absolutely. It is better than the Xbox wireless headset. It's better than the Arctis 7, because I've seen that comparison a lot. It's better than the Astro 850s and the A40s. From a sound standpoint, it's at the top of the food chain for me. I still come back to the one thing I was saying last week, Mike, and this is the one thing I've been struggling with. The audience that is listening to us or watching us talk about this headset, can I recommend it at $500? I still say no. I think the majority of people that are watching or listening to this, I can't with good conscience tell them to go spend $500 for this, because even though I think it is the best sounding headset and it has Bluetooth and it can connect directly to your Xbox and all those great things, $500 is a lot of money. And I would probably recommend go get the Astro 850s or go all the way down to $99 for the Xbox wireless headset, because they do enough of what you're going to care about as a gamer. Now, if you have disposable income and you balling like that, go get them. That's what I would say. If $500 is not an issue for you, yes, get these, because I will continue to use these a lot. Because like I said, from a sound standpoint, they're the best that I have in my house right now. They are. So that's not the question. The quality of them isn't the question. The sound reproduction of them isn't the question. There's headsets that are a fraction of the price that have certain features that this one does not do. And it depends on what you're looking for, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I'm not going to tell people to go get these for $500 and be disappointed because the $99 one does something that this one can't do. But then at the same time, if you're more of an audiophile, if you care about the active noise canceling, if you care about transparent noise canceling, if you like, as you're saying, Mike, I can quickly switch back and forth between Bluetooth and the Xbox audio, these are pretty dope. They are. But are they $500 dope? Honestly, only you know your financial situation and only you can really answer that. I would just say for most people, you're probably not going to want to get these because at that price point, because while they do a lot of great things, there's headsets that cost a fraction of the price that do a lot of great things too, if that makes sense. Sounds like I'm hedging a little bit, but I understand that these limited series B&O portals aren't targeted at the average gamer anyways. That's why it's quote unquote the limited series, right? They are chasing the high end gamer, and the high end gamer that can afford them, they are going to be happy with them. Absolutely. But I do understand our demographic and who's watching this and listening to it. And most people aren't going to want to throw $500 at a headset when they'll be just as happy getting one for $99 because it does the job.
No, I think you said that so well, Parris. It's like, I think you got to understand your audience and who you're talking to, but also the audience has to understand like where they're at. And more importantly, like if we were sitting at a coffee table together and it was me and my boys, no, this would not be the first thing coming out of my mouth, right? I understand where they're at, what they want, what their true desire in gaming is, right? Are you balling like that? Are you looking for a nice headset when we talk about the big bad boy headsets that can also be part of your gaming routine? Then we're going to talk about this, right? But if you're at me like, hey, Mike, I want to get a gaming headset, this is probably going to be very low on the list for me to bring up first, right? There's a lot of companies out there, like you said, that sell headsets that are just as good in the gaming space for a fraction of the price, that do a number of things that I like better over in that gaming world. But if I'm looking at you and you're sipping your latte and you got your scarf on, you got your 500 Dolce and Dolce glasses on and Gucci shoes, and you're like, Mike, I'm looking for the baddest of the bad. I'm on a private plane tomorrow. Then yeah, we're going to have this conversation, but it is fun to have that. And I think you said it so well last week of like, it's all about choice, right? And here it is. Here's a fun partnership that gives you that choice and that opportunity if you're interested in that, for sure. Gary, one that I noticed when I was breaking it down and having some fun over the week was, hey, there's 2 buttons on this similar to the Xbox headset as well, but also there's no tactile feel, right? You have these volumes and you have the noise canceling along with the game/audio chat mixer, and they're just a straight up touch kind of flick of your thumb up or down. And you said, I missed that feel of actually knowing where I'm at. And I felt that about halfway through my gaming session yesterday of like, where am I on the volume chart? Am I up? Am I down? Have I turned it all the way off? Am I turned it all the way down? And I noticed myself going towards the app a lot. I actually, the whole time I did this, I had the app open, Parris and Gary, where I would actually turn to the app more and I would adjust the volume there. I'd adjust the noise canceling, or I'd go over and I'd choose the different profiles, which I thought were really cool. But Gary, after a week, have you had the same thoughts on missing out on that feel? Have you gotten more familiar with it?
Yeah, when we spoke last week, I'd literally taken them out of the box earlier that day. So I had put them on and listened to some music and goofed around with them a bit just to get like a general sense. And a lot of the stuff that we talked about value and are they worth it? I think we also spoke about that in depth last week. Again, it's really, really hard to say like, is it worth it? Because that's not a one size fits all answer. We just talked about this. If $500 is a lot of money for you, maybe not. But if $500 is a drop in the bucket, go nuts, and everyone's going to have their own decision about what their level of comfort is with how much they spend on these kind of luxury products. The $99 headset is there for 9 out of 10 people, as Parris said. I saw some reviews of the $99 headset where they were genuinely surprised it wasn't twice that price because it's competitive in terms of performance and features with, other headphones out there that cost $200, $250, $300. So tremendous value on the low end. On the high end, I played around with some things I really, really do like. I had not had a chance to pair it with the Xbox and go back and forth, but that does, as you say, it works as advertised. You press one button on the headset or you press the button on the app and it flips over to the Xbox. You get a little chime. It takes maybe 2-3 seconds to connect and you're all good. And then back again when you want to, connect it to whatever. I believe it connects. I believe the headset will remember up to like 8 or 10 different Bluetooth devices that you compare it to. So that's all great. I still don't love the capacitive buttons. I'm actually relieved to hear that you've had the same experience fiddling around on the back. Sometimes you just want to feel a wheel turn under your thumb, or the AirPods Max, which is, I think, probably the closest comparison point to the portals in terms of price and performance and the market segment they're going at. That has the little digital crown on the top, similar to what you see on an Apple Watch. It's sometimes you just want to turn it and feel it turn and know that it's responding. Capacitive buttons, I feel like you sometimes miss out on that sense, at least on the app, even though that's touch as well. You can see the dial. You can see the bar filling up black or white depending on how you're turning it, and you're getting that visual confirmation that something is changing. You don't just go by what you're hearing. Like, am I in transparency mode right now? I'm in noise canceling. Sometimes you don't know until you actually see what it's telling you. So I wouldn't have minded a wheel or a dial or something that would have given me some some tactile response. So the capacitive, those little bars on the back, I don't think they're terribly responsive. It's not my favorite thing. Like you, Mike, I did end up using the app more often than not to change the equalizer settings, go back and forth between voice and chat and game volume, or transparency versus noise canceling. I think the app's a better option than maybe after a while you get used to those capacitive touch bars on the back. I personally don't like them. But for the most part, yeah, they're terrific. The sound quality is great. I would say, again, the best comparison for me, even taking the Xbox thing aside, just as headphones, would be the Apple AirPods Max, right? Which is very similar. Yes, they are top of the line, but they're also really expensive. People asking the same question, are they worth it? I felt that the sound quality on both was very similar. I think the AirPods Max have the edge slightly on noise canceling. When the AirPod Max go full on noise canceling, it's almost uncanny how silent it makes things sound. I would say that if those are a 10 out of 10, these are like an 8 or a 9. Still really, really good, but not the king when it comes to noise canceling. Really, really good. But I did try to educate myself a little bit more about the headphones. I want to watch a couple of deep dive videos. Parris has got his own video up. I noticed his first impressions on his YouTube channel. But I also saw out a couple of others that went into like really, really great detail. There's one, if you're interested, go check it out. There's a channel called Gadgetry Tech that put up a review of them just recently. 25-minute, really deep dive. He uncovered actually a bunch of features that I didn't even know it had, like USB-C digital to audio conversion mode that you can do with a wide USB-C cable, like the kind of stuff that audiophiles get, like, that may not mean much to us, but audiophiles get excited about. They do work on PlayStation 5. They'll work on anything with a Bluetooth connection. The Xbox mode obviously specifically puts it over the top if you're a high-end Xbox gamer for whom $500 is not a lot of money. It's a no-brainer. The issue with not being able to, this is the one thing, why doesn't it do the one thing that the much cheaper headsets do, which is 2 audio sources at the same time? So I can have Discord and my game audio, Discord from my phone and the game audio from my Xbox coming in at once. The $99 headsets do that. The Bang & Olufsen's, which are 5 times the price, don't. So you go, well, what gives? The explanation that apparently they gave was that with the B&O headsets, they're all about preserving like the highest fidelity audio quality, and having sound coming in from 2 different sources can somehow can degrade that. So you know what, we're going to sacrifice that feature because we don't want to sacrifice audio quality. That's a trade-off that they made with the $99 headset, where the audio only has to be good enough. If you're buying a $99 headset and the audio is good but not brilliant, then you accept that. If you buy a $500 headset and the audio is anything less than brilliant, the fact that they may say to you, oh, well, that's because we have dual audio sources. Audiophiles don't want to hear that. They just want to hear the best audio possible. So I kind of understand why they made the trade-off. Again, we talked about this before. These are the Series S and the Series X of headphones, the 2 offerings. If you want the console that's good enough, but you don't want to spend empty your pocketbook, the Series S and the Xbox wireless headset, you can get both of those for, what would it be, $400 out the door, right? Mm-hmm. For a Series S and a headset, pretty good value. If you want to spend $1,000 though, get a Series X in the portals, and you'll be rocking in first class. But again, you've got to make nobody can make that decision for you. Everyone at home right now has their own personal circumstances, their own comfort level of what they can and are willing to spend on stuff. But we talked about this at length last week. I like that Microsoft has both ends covered. Low end, high end, there's an option for you.
Oh, other thing I forgot to mention, the wife annoying factor.
Yes.
These barely pass it. Barely.
Whoa!
Because like the Astro A50s, dude, I can go all around the house, upstairs, the whole thing. The range on them is great. This one will get to the kitchen, and then I kind of start losing signal a little bit in comparison, right? So while they do pass, the range on them is not as good as the Astro 850s or even the Xbox wireless headset for that matter. They're good enough. Again, that's why I'm saying there's really great things about these headsets, and then there's some other little quality of life trade-offs that you have to be aware of, kind of like Gary and yourself were saying, because even with the the slider or whatever, yeah, I wish it had a little bit of haptic in there. I'm used to it now, but I'm still not a big fan of it, so to speak. You know what I mean? So there's definitely some trade-offs there, and I think Gary said it best. It's you have to make the decision if it's worth it to you. $500 is a lot of money to spend on gaming headsets, especially when you have options. But that's why you have a choice.
And also the through line that we've had throughout these conversations, value, right? It's all about value. And that's a big one that Xbox has been bringing into the games industry over this past couple of years, right? We've talked about value and what can they do to provide you that value and that option. And this is another great one. This is the first product on that designed for Xbox limited series that we talked about, right? This is their first one giving you value on the high end and on the low end and giving you the option of what you want to choose from. So really, really cool. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed your week with these B&O headphones. I really enjoyed it. And I love talking with you guys about what you thought your experience is. And does it pass the wife test is always number one priority.
No, annoy her, not pass. No, I needed to fail because I needed to annoy her because I don't hear nothing she says.
I love it. Well, let's round out the show with what you need to know going on around you in the Xbox universe. Your free-to-play game this weekend, Kingdom Two Crowns. Kingdom Two Crowns is a micro-strategy game where players take the role of a monarch and build their kingdom. Enjoyed solo or in two-player co-op, the campaign challenges players to explore the mysterious world, to discover resources and artifacts, and recruit loyal subjects and build their realm. Sea of Thieves Season 2 has arrived, so grab your crew and enjoy a boatload of new features, events, and rewards out now. Wasteland 3's first narrative expansion has been announced and dated for June 3rd, the Battle of Steel Town. So go out there to the Xbox Wire, go check it out, get excited for some Wasteland 3 coming your way. Then we have 6 more games coming to the touch control world with cloud gaming on Android. And Parris, I think you're going to love this last one. You'll have Battle Chasers Nightmare, Double Dragon Neon, Wreckfest, Overcooked 2, Killer Queen Black, and Banjo-Kazooie all will get touch controls. Parris, you love Banjo. This is kind of cool, right? The touch controls?
Look, I'm convinced Jason Ronald or someone over there is just trolling me at this point. They know. They keep throwing Banjo in our face, but they won't announce a new game. So, again, going back to our original topic about E3 and all that, show me that game at E3, and I'll be excited. You win E3 if it's up to me.
I love that. And that will conclude this week's Kind of Funny Xcast. Of course, I want to thank all of you watching and listening, no matter where you are. Thank you so much for your love and support. We hope that you have a terrific weekend. On behalf of myself, Parris Lilly, Gary Whitta, and Barrett Courtney, guys, trying to go out there and play a bunch of games. Parris, where can everybody find you this week?
You can find me, as always, Gamertag Radio. You can find me on my own YouTube channel, which is Parris, Parris, and I'm usually trolling about Nintendo Switch on Twitter at Vicious696.
Gary Whitta, where can everybody find you?
Twitch.tv/Gary Whitta. As I'm sure you're all sick of hearing by now, I am streaming regularly my continuing adventures in Los Santos. Really enjoying that. And there's actually going to be a major project announcement coming up on that Twitch channel very soon. So send me a follow and you'll be notified of that. Not like a goofy thing, like an actual real thing. The next big thing I'm doing will be announced very shortly. I'm going to do it do the announcement on Twitch. So that'll be fun. And then youtube.com/Gary Whitta is where we take the various, curated episodes of the Los Santos, the role-playing stuff, the 2 characters that I have there in the city. The Kind of Funny best friend Kebabs has been doing a great job editing sometimes a 3 or 4 hour stream. He'll turn it down into like 20 minutes of beautifully curated highlights with a narrative thread running through. Each one is like its own TV episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe, mash that like button, leave a comment, etc. youtube.com/Gary Whitta.
You are so hip and so cool out there in the social media space. It's ridiculous. Parris, tell me.
One more thing before we get out of here. Gary, I don't know if you know this yet.
Oh no,
but,
what's this?
Yeah, but somebody, of course it's 420, but I'm going to be hosting Kind of Funny Games Daily with you next Tuesday. And of course,
Why am I always
420.
Why am I always the last person to know? I'm literally finding this out live
my
on air. I mean, I'm thrilled because
my
Parris,
God.
I love you, and I'm always happy to do things with you.
Yeah.
But this is how I find things out. Greg Miller tells me nothing, but that'll be fun.
Because
I look
we
forward to
know you
next
can roll
Tuesday.
with the punches, Gary. You know what I'm
Roll
saying?
with it, Gary.
I mean, you
Roll
don't give
with
me
it.
any choice. I'm rolling. I'm constantly rolling with the
Well,
punches.
Well, clearly someone has started smoking dope a little early because
Yeah,
why they got me to host
exactly.
it, I don't know. But no,
Well,
it should be fun.
well,
I'm excited. I'm excited.
We'll
for
have
it. It's gonna
it'll be
fun.
fun. We'll have a fun time.
Yeah.
You guys are the best. Thank you on behalf of Barrett, Courtney, and myself, and these two guys. We'll see you next week. And remember, the 420 edition of Kind of Funny Games Daily, Parris and Gary teaming up to tell you all the nerdy video game news you need to know about. Peace, everybody.